all of our armsmen, every single one, shall be bedecked in the colours of the Royal Air Force.
I mean, they can be. You can have Royal Air Forces. Okay, so it's not What?
The drummer of the Rolling Stones has died.
Yeah, he was 80.
Yeah, Big Jeff.
Oh no!
But, yes, so what do they make as their primary export?
Omnicantus. Let's see if I've got a set of notes. Omnicantus. They are not particularly notable for having a specialist output. They're not like, I don't think it's been discovered yet, but they're not like, say, Mazoa, where they're the go-to Forge World for plasma weaponry. Omnicantus is, if anything, slightly underwhelming as Forge Worlds go. Their major qualification is that they are in a very strategic position, both being like between two subsectors and also in terms of galactic positioning. They're like a vital supply hub. So they make a little bit of everything, none of it to a particularly notable quality, at least not compared to other more specialist Forge Worlds, but they're in a supremely useful position. If you imagine them as the sort of the Lidls of Forge Worlds.
I was just going to say, if they made something specific, we could ask them about a specific supply alliance with our legion. So they say, well, you want your independence, right? Well, if you sign on, and sign up as like the exclusive supplier of the second legion, I don't know, bolters or something, then you can maintain a really high degree of independence, because suddenly you're the direct line to a legion and no one wants to piss off a legion.
But the last people to request that of them would have been Mars, explaining their new expanded duties, and look where that's got them.
Fair.
So, it's not that your promise necessarily doesn't necessarily have merit. It's that they do not have good reasons to believe you, and they have good reasons to doubt you. So they would need to trust you more first. You have a kinship with the what are they called? The Fabricator General for Omnicantus. But kinship is the word. They're not willing to sort of pledge eternal allegiance to you based on a small amount of instinctual shared suffering. So let's... sorry?
Sorry, I was pondering to myself whether or not Fabricator General was a effective title. Keep going.
Yeah, the Fabricator General of Mars is preeminent, but it's, I think, generally most...
Tangent, go.
I mean, fair, it's relatively relevant.
No, I know, I'm just tangenting, and I know other people get annoyed by it. Let's keep going.
Yeah, Ollie. So, reminders from last session. Ollie wants to field upgrades to Terminator suits to allow them to mount graviton cannons. The party has been split. Dinosaurs with human souls, in all caps. Tiguanta's team wishes to investigate the planet and then wing it. Defensive forces are arrayed on the most likely targets to... what's that? Rimwood, Corewood, so... Spinwood, Trailing, which means... yeah, sorry, because I put north in the notes, but that's inaccurate, so they're arrayed on the most likely targets towards Trailing. To use correct space terminology. The main iterator has been positioned to Ferdinandia, or over Ferdinandia, to obtain subsector compliance. Coayah gets on with the Archmagos of the Omnicantic Protectorate. Rando NPCs on Polder have been sent to hold the line. I think it was just... have they actually been sent to hold the line? I thought you said picket forces everywhere.
We're spread out across the three most likely targets that we think they would attack next. They've been ordered to land, dig in, and reinforce planetary PDF forces. If there aren't any, create some.
And next up, it's that the mushroom people, the Akareth, have had at least 6 months in which to travel. Now I'm going to go check on them fucking crumpets. You'll talk amongst yourselves as you plan. If your Nicholas doesn't turn up, you will get a stand-in psyker.
We have notes on
we have notes on our troops' positions around what planets.
Yeah,
we should probably start drawing on the map, but we've got A and B.
It is on the map. Yeah, A and B.
Oh, A and B. Okay. Yeah, we just didn't cover anything on the right section.
I don't know where C is.
All of us start desperately looking for C.
Maybe there is no C.
We have one.
There's Greek or something.
Well, I believe C under that logic would be the Teguantis mission, but obviously I don't think you guys want to be deemed the C company.
I don't mind.
I just presumed.
Oh, sorry, that was me just being like, well, I've already been belittled enough recently as it is. I really couldn't give a shit anymore.
Okay, so we're all clear on what we're doing, right?
No.
Okay, the Teguantis mission is on a fact-finding mission.
Sorry, let me clarify. I know what I'm meant to be doing, more it's a case of how to go about doing it.
Yeah, we'll wing that bit. It'll be fine. Yeah. With a research team, we'll do some science and shit. It'll be grand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I mean, quote-unquote science and shit.
Well, I can poke any computers that are still alive. We can scan some stuff, and you can do your doctor science.
I'm going to have to take plenty of people as experimental specimens.
Sure, I assume we got a crew with us. Did we get a lift to ship, or did you just abandon us on planet?
Thought we were abandoned. If possible, I would request the Firehawk.
Firebird,
whatever. Firehawk sounds better.
Yeah, can we say we took the Firehawk?
Can I have a medical grade, I say medical grade, edition, if you will. Oh, where the fuck is that alarm coming from? Oh, there it is. Shut up, shitty alarm.
Yeah, there should still be plenty of evidence from the Akareth attack on Teguantis, so gather the information there.
Evidence?
I don't know. Me and Ollie are going to be there setting up PDF forces and digging in on Ghoul and Polder. No, Ghoul and Albadur, sorry.
Let's go, mobile!
We have an auger array equivalent.
Yeah, it'll be on the ship, presumably.
Anything personal?
You'll have auspexes. As a tech, you've got a servo harness. You should have one built into that.
I don't think I have a full servo harness yet. I think it's the servo arm.
You should have a servo harness. You're a...
Yeah, does it come with the stat block, though?
You can narratively say it comes with the stat block, to be fair.
Oh, I do own an Auspex anyway. Or it's built into the armour, one of the two.
Oh, right.
Left.
God damn it, Carl. So, what are we thinking?
I try not to.
Yeah, I know that feel.
Look, I'm still on a servo arm, right? No harness yet?
You should have a servo harness.
Yeah, you've got
Terminator armor.
I don't know if you can fit a servo harness to Terminator armor. I think it's either or.
You should be able to.
Let's have a look.
If anyone could. By the way, if it starts reverbing, let me know, because I've got speakers on this thing.
Noted. Let's see. It looks like the Iron Warriors definitely have them, at least by the end of the Heresy, but...
Yeah, the least weird thing would be putting a servo on a Terminator armor.
Yeah, but remember...
Who do you think is going to get first fucking dibs on the Terminator armor?
Me.
Well, one, I don't know if the Tech Marines can pull rank on that ship, and two...
Pretty sure they can.
What, against, first company captains? And
yeah, pretty sure they can.
Okay, if Cread says he's getting a suit of Terminator armor, are you automatically giving it to him?
Well, he's part of the AdMech. They control the Forge Shrine. I can pull rank on them, but I don't think anyone else can. If you piss off the Technomats, they take the stuff away.
I like stuff. Please don't piss them off.
Exactly.
For the record, if you call appointed Magi Technomats, they will also take the stuff away.
Well, I was meaning more the Tech Marines, not the full Magi.
They are also appointed Magi. It's part of the process. You're an official Magos of the Adeptus of the Mechanicum. So to be fair, we've said to Ollie, like, they don't have the harnesses worked out for all of the heavy weapons yet. It's the first 6 months of them being deployed. They're super new. I don't think they've got the full harnesses for servo arms yet either. I'm not even seeing them as being standard anywhere outside of, like, late period Iron Warriors.
Like, it's such a basic thing that you'd get servo harnesses.
I literally can't see pictures of it.
Use your mind, brain.
No, I just don't think it's a thing that they're mounted on yet.
I was more taking the piss.
Oh, I see. Damn you and your humour.
The servo horns?
Yeah, like I say, I don't think they fit to Terminator armor yet, but maybe in the future.
Like, just be, like, silly and carry, like, a remote arm in your hand.
You could have it rigged up to a servitor or something, I suppose, is the alternative, yes.
Oh, excellent. Can I force Jeb to carry it with some sort of assistance?
Sure.
Can we, like, get Jeb a promotion of some kind?
We'll get Seb a promotion.
He's probably in the Mechanicum by now, right?
You set his... Well, I think he's a Technomat, yeah. You set his rank for the record, so you can give him whatever promotion you like.
Don't give him too much freedom.
I mean, it can just be an empty title.
Yeah.
King of the Normals.
King of the Normals. You're going to get him bullied by the other humans.
We know. We don't care.
I'm sure.
No, I was thinking something that sounds grand, but doesn't really do anything more than he does. What? Chief Envoy Technomat to the command squad.
His current title is Equerry Serf.
I mean, it sounds better than Serf.
I mean, he is a serf. Even if you give him a different title, he's still a serf.
Yeah, but hopefully he'll feel better about all the shit we're going to do to him.
It's his job to take it anyway.
Oh, can I one-hand my Omnicyrax and Terminator armor?
Yeah, you can still... I would say so. You've got the muscles for it, right?
I think it says explicitly you are allowed to one hand.
Doesn't that come with...
You just can't parry with them. You can only... you can parry, but you can't dodge, so...
Because I'm pretty sure that comes with basic power armor as well, that talent.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I believe I'm also equipped out in Terminator armor as well. It's a good time for everyone.
Terminator boys.
I just want to reiterate that I am not in Terminator armor.
Oh, yeah.
I guess who wants to go first? Are we just going to wait around for a little bit? See what happens?
Young Nicholas has plenty of time to turn up. We're 20 minutes in. You have so in that case, we'll be sloping in Librarian Carpi, the not openly psyker of your squad. Who wants to go first? We have 3 teams, Mackie, Coayah, and Team Rainbow Ocelot.
Rainbow Ocelot. Thundercats.
Oh, Thundercats, what a show.
The Thundermen.
Fuck it, I'll go first. I think no one else is saying words right now. And I like saying words.
How to sum up Ollie in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
Hang about. Oh, yeah, okay, to be fair, Nicholas says he'll try to get on.
Are you throwing up or sneezing?
Sorry, no, I was coughing. He says he'll try to get on, but his stomach's messing him around.
I see, okay.
So, I believe you've been positioned at Albadur, intending to take command of the defense of the system. What are we doing here, Macuiltotec? What's your plan, brother captain? In fact,
Brother Captain Macuiltotec is
He's Prefectus Primus, Macuiltotec.
I'm just going to be real here with you. Now, you all are allowed to call yourselves whatever you like. I'm going to continue to refer to you, probably, at least out of character, by the generic titles for these things, because the faux Latin hurts deep in my soul.
You sure you don't like the Atius Exterminus?
It's like a terrible combination of trying and not trying, and
just like what High
That's
Gothic
the
is
point.
anyway.
no there's an art to faux Latin. Anywho, I'm not going to be like obstinate and say, nah, I'll just refer to you by a different name in character. I'll try and keep your actual titles in mind, but out of character, I'm not calling you Primus Perfectus every time.
I mean, I haven't got myself registered as Primus Perfectus.
Well, I mean, I did call him Prefect Primus, not the other way round.
Prefect Primus.
Which would be...
Still.
Yeah, I still like our own given names.
Like,
Call me Magos Obsidia, please.
Because it's not even your fucking theming is the thing. You've been themed around, like, Nahatal names, and you've given yourselves these fucking Latin Roman titles. Shut up.
You know what? Actually, no, don't let me go first. My food literally just finished making. So
Christ's sake. Well, why don't we send the information gathering squad out first?
Team Rainbow Ocelot, away!
Team Rainbow Ocelot, named for... what Rainbow Ocelot are you named for? Team leader, who's technically ranking? None of you. None of you are technically ranking. Any one of you, then.
What the difference is?
Oh, yeah, I don't really understand the question.
What
Pick
Rainbow
something you
Ocelot?
want to do.
You know what? Never mind.
Are Rainbow Ocelot's an actual thing?
They're not. It was an invitation to, do you want to make up a Rainbow Ocelot that's been important to you in the past in some context?
Oh, right, you want a mascot sort of thing.
Is it a live animal, or like a ship, or a brother of yours whose name was Rainbow Ocelot who you choose to honour? Or just a cool phrase?
Right, I'm partial to just a cool phrase, but we're not going to tell anyone that.
Yeah.
And so
it was going to be our Legion symbol before we changed it. That's what we tell people.
There we go. Okay. So, the last remembering members of the Legion. God, that was awful phrasing. The last people in the Legion who remember the almost-to-be previous symbol of a rainbow ocelot, long since replaced by the crossbow of the quarrelers. Your trip to Teguantis from the Mezzin system is surprisingly, actually, probably some of the smoothest and easiest warp travel you've ever had. Even with it not being on a recognized warp route, you sort of, rather than go the stable way, like through Naxos, Ferdinandia, Hesperid, and then back to Teguantis, you went straight from Mezzin to Teguantis. And that was basically just fine to transit. Although, Chief Librarian Carpi is, he feels weird around the two of you. He's behaving slightly oddly. Almost like, if you didn't know any better, you'd say he was seasick. When you arrive... Oh, sorry?
Oh, sorry, I'll wait until you finish.
No, I was going to go into the arrival bit. What are you doing?
Well, yeah, if it's like let's say, noticeable from his behaviour that this is the case, I want to pay extra attention to what may, like, be, how do I term this? Like, significant stimuli that provoked this reaction. Like, it's probably just something to do with the warp route and what's going on. But, like, because you say he's not openly psychery, and I'm a doctor, right?
Yeah, he's not at all. It's not at all uncommon for people to feel ill on warp routes, and even to have very different reactions, but still something in your gut says this is strange. I will take scrutiny over perception at a -10, please.
Okay, let me just... I don't actually think I have scrutiny, unless it comes as standard. Come on, scroll down. No, don't have scrutiny. At least it's basic, so it's only a -10.
I think it's a +0 if it's basic, isn't it?
Yeah, +0.
Oh no, you gave me a -10.
Oh yeah, sorry. Fair. I thought you meant it was an additional -10 because.
Oh right. Sorry. Mother. One off.
Oof. You can't put your finger on it. Just weird warp root symptoms. You give him 2 space aspirin and tell him to walk it off.
Best stop.
Just think of him as a canary, brother.
Indeed.
Your arrival in Teguantis is far from silent. The system swarms with small monitor ships with buoys and beacons warning people to leave, that this is an active investigation zone and contaminated by Xenos filth. As one by one, the hails fall off as they realize your transponder code and what it signals. Receive your transponder code. After a while, the acting system commandant, a rather portly woman, contacts you via long-range Vox. There's some delay due to the distance between your ships, but you can consider yourself in active communication with her. My lords, how can we assist?
We'd like to investigate the planet. Do you have any initial reports from the site?
She strokes her chin. Several hundred, depending on what you want to know.
Everything. Yes, you want to know everything.
Yes. Just start at 1 and go all the way through, please.
She nods. They will be sent. You can assume you have, like, a small destroyer or something.
Sure. So is there anything referencing how they might propagate in here?
You are probably going to have to do a lot more than that. You just asked for several hundred detailed reports on the death of a planet.
Yeah. Well, I suppose we have more of a conversation before we start reading.
Yeah, you have got, like, some months' worth of reading material, minimum, provided. A simple Control F is not going to help you much.
Just to clarify, I know that, like, out of player group, it's just us, sort of thing. Like, and, of course, non-existent, Nick, what's his name? Carpy, that's it. But I presume that we've got, like, generic crew member stuff, sort of deal.
You do, yes.
Okay.
It's not just, like, the 3 of you alone on a crowded shuttle. It's, we'll say it's probably not just the destroyer. I would expect it's, like, one of the fastest ships in your fleet, if not the fastest, so it'll be like a little warp runner destroyer. So it's a small-ish ship, population probably somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000, but it goes like the clappers.
Nice.
At least in the war. Probably not quite as fast in actual system.
Cool.
So the reports begin transmitting, but over the long-range Vox, even as you begin to approach the corpse of Teguantis itself, as they start to come in, you can see that a number of them are on fairly drab subject matter. There are reports on exact casualties, damage estimations, repercussions on the rest of the subsector in terms of like what this is going to do to crop output, outdated reports on what this means for Volant and Chime and Bountiful, proposals for how survivors could be shipped to Hesperid, confirmation that there are no survivors on Teguantis, dissections, so many dissections of many corpses. It is just terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of data. What do?
Well. Any of these corpses in the records, are any of them the Xenos, or all ours?
There are several dissected Xenos corpses. They, at least in the pictures, as you skim through the initial reports, do not look especially alive. Generally, corpses don't, but these don't look like they were ever alive. They look like nothing so much as a giant loaf of bread that's been opened up. The inside is just spongy and failed. There's nothing really in there. You can't even begin to fathom how these things work or move, this repugnant alien filth. Small limbs coming off at odd angles, and in variable number, seem to twist out like isolated tree branches, like strands of mold. And the only things you can see inside of any real difference from the otherwise matted, grey, puce-coloured interior are slight slurping lines. Or, well, once slurping. You can almost picture the sound. Often located just beneath the pit of one of the limbs. Lines that are, presumably, human marrow. There's a slight noise behind you as Carpi pops out of existence, and Nazeem pops back in. Nazeem!
You were going to say that was the sound of their feeding.
There are videos of them feeding if you want to look at some of them feeding.
I would, yes.
Oh, definitely.
But just to update Nazeem, Team Rainbow Ocelot, the away team on Teguantes, has taken like your fastest warp runner, moved out to Teguantes, you've arrived in system, you've received a like ridiculous amount of reports, hundreds of terabytes worth of data from the local like large-scale investigating force. And on the route over here, you had like almost the opposite of a headache. Your head felt distant and cold and strangely empty. You got like the odd, weird side eye from Kuzco, but you sort of palmed it off as a headache successfully, and he gave you 2 space aspirin and told you to walk it off. So you got away with it. Which translates as Carl rolled, what's his thingy?
1 point above the target number.
No, I was trying to remember the skill.
Oh, scrutiny.
Scrutiny, thank you. I knew it was an S. I was thinking security. Carl rolled security against your schlorped self to figure out what was going on with him, because he was having issues. And yeah, as Benji says, failed by 1 point. But it's still good enough for 1 DOF.
Okay.
Cool, otherwise you're up to date. A video of them feeding. Can I take a toughness test at plus 20 from all 3 of you, please?
Like, why did I have to waste a 31?
Plus what?
Hey, we got 83.
It was at plus 20.
Plus 20.
Failed by 2. By
I'm
fucking
use a fate.
2.
Can't get worse, right?
You say you're off even with a plus 20, young Nicholas.
Oh, plus 20. No, I'm fine, actually.
I was
Sorry.
going to say, how do you fail at 44 with a plus 20 as a Space Marine? That's just, how the fuck did you get out of basic trade? Oh, of course, you came in when the intake was, like, way lower quality. Oh, well,
Exactly.
not way lower quality, but way lower standards for success. So
Yeah.
much more variable quality.
Young Nicholas, the Space Marine with 30 in both of his weapon skill and ballistic skill.
I fucking love that he can neither hit a stationary target nor hit a moving target. That's just Nazeem doing Nazeem, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But if you want a legal case mounted...
Except no substitutes.
I mean, he's basically, what do you call him? Malokhurst. Malokhurst was a really shite space marine, but a surprisingly
Malachurst
good
was
diplomat.
Malachurst was a decent Space Marine. He was just crippled in a crash.
No, he was, even before that, he was underwhelming at everything but politics, but he was really good at politics.
Yeah, but he could. He was all right at fighting. He wasn't great.
Yeah, young Nicholas is all right at
sorry.
fighting.
When you're in he was all right for his legion, which I will remind you contained Abaddon the Despoiler.
I think you'll find that it's just Abaddon at that point. Abby to his friends. I love that Malokhurst shortens to Mal, and in the books, Horus is always calling him Mal.
So, should we go?
Sorry. So, God, trying to remember names of these bloody titles in front. Kuzco and Coatlmox. Against their better nature, against all their training, as they watch a live human succumb to the Akereth feeding practice. Vomit wells up in your mouths. You're able to swallow it back down and hold your dignity, but it came up nonetheless. Nazeem, presumably at this point, long since used to eating human brains, is less repulsed, as the screaming colonist is raised betwixt two Akareth, thrashing, their fragile-looking limbs seeming to hold them iron-clad, growing fungal vines around them, holding them still, and then puncturing them, blood seeming to flow, in fact literally flowing forth from the living human. Blood, and then the veins grow thicker and wider as they begin to pump deep, deep from within the human's bones, transplanting their marrow all at once, simultaneously, from damn near every bone in the human's body, from both ends, as the human bleeds out and simultaneously has every bone punctured and drained, feeling themselves dying, yet unable to die quick enough to be spared so much as an iota of pain. Sorry. Well, I was going to say, especially for Kuzco, who's medically qualified enough to realize what's happening and what this must mean, the horror strikes a little bit closer to home. What were you going to ask?
I was going to ask if when they puncture the subject, are they actively going for, I want to say, an unarmored location?
There is no armor on this video.
Okay.
You have to flick through several before you find one of them attacking a carapace armored PDF member, you presume. Maybe a local mercenary, I suppose. In that instance, they are unable to easily puncture the carapace armor, but it's not difficult for them to rip it off. You're able to intuit relatively quickly that they're not at all likely to be able to just inherently punch through your carapace armor, but ripping off specific segments. Gloves, helmet, maybe your kneecaps, and getting through that way is more likely. Several more videos... Sorry?
So when you say ripping off, is it that they actually take it off, or do they just tear through it eventually?
As in tearing it away at the joints, at the housings. Your helmet is held on strongly, but it's not as strong as pure armor plate. Several more videos of them in actual combat do show that this is not generally a combat technique. Feeding is separate to fighting. When they fight, it's altogether more familiar. Brutal but effective small and combined arms tactics. Brutal and ruthless artillery bombardments. Even orbital bombardments. You're looking at a militarily competent foe with a particularly abhorrent feeding method, but not one that they're foolish enough to try and pursue in active combat.
I was hoping it would be this smart.
The cunning of the Xenos knows no ends. What do, folks? You can consider your void ship to be at this point in high orbit over the rotting husk of Teguantis.
Any evidence of them communicating? Any of these combat videos? With each other?
Not verbally. The logs of the local Mechanicum shrine does... it would not be a local Mechanicum shrine, actually. Politics. The logs of the local Technomantic shrine do show Vox traffic passing between their void ships, and between the void ships and the ground, and between some forces on the ground, but the actual bursts are not recorded, only that it was happening.
Okay.
So long as they're not psychic communication style.
These psychic radio waves, I guess.
That's the point. Synesians.
Sorry?
Synesians.
You can't use Synesians through a video, I'm afraid.
No, but the thing is, I know in standard 40k, it's got quite a range. I'm wondering what the range is in
Synesians?
Yeah.
Synesians has a range of your senses, but it doesn't work over video.
You're
detecting unnatural patterns within the natural world when you're using Synesians, basically. If you're not there to see it or hear it or taste it or however you detect it, you won't get it. Basically, it's because you know how your depth perception doesn't work nearly so well through a video as it does in real life. Object positioning isn't there. It's that thing because you're seeing it through a film of a machine that couldn't possibly perceive these differences. You yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that. I just remember in the Mars campaign, I was using it or something, and it has like a range of 4 kilometers or something. Silly.
Well, Sinicius isn't a psychic power, Nicholas. It's perception.
Yeah, no.
If you had a method of seeing like 4 kilometers, you could use that, I guess. But it doesn't have to be seeing.
Can't remember if it was psychic power.
There might be a psychic power that has that range, but
Yeah,
what are you wanting for here anyway?
Trying to determine if they have any sort of psychic powers or anything like that.
You definitely can't do that over video.
No, that's what I was saying. At range, if it had a long range, then
Okay.
possibly.
They're
But
not
we don't
in the
even know
system
where
yet,
any
Nicholas.
specimens
Yeah.
are.
You have maybe some corpses.
I see. Yes. Okay.
if they tell you what, if you run that power and you detect that yes, they're within 4 kilometers worth of psychic range, you have bigger problems.
Is there any evidence of them using their own types of weaponry? Does everything look scavenged?
Difficult to tell. A lot of it is clearly scavenged alien weaponry or exotic human weaponry, or visibly human weaponry, but it might just be a similar design. Guns are pretty universal, like orc weaponry from a distance doesn't look dissimilar to some really shitty stub weaponry, for instance. So it's. I think the thing that can best be said about their weaponry is that, one, very little of it seems to be particularly advanced. Comparatively few plasma weapons, literally zero in the way of grav or volkite stuff in the way that the Imperium has at the moment. And two, what there isn't allocated haphazardly. Instead, it's been grouped into areas and squads and formations where it can be most effective and then deployed in ruthlessly efficient combined arms approaches. You watch one video, end over end, of a group of maybe 1,000 of them storming a local PDF fort, a bastion which by all rights should have taken weeks to fall. It lasts 3 hours from start to finish. What do, folks?
We're still in contact with the people who I can't remember what they're called now, right?
You're going to be more specific. That could be
The local forces.
Yeah, they're
the
still
ones
like
who got
swarming through the system. They're also conducting an active investigation.
Okay, wonderful. I would like to see if we can co-op part of their forces into helping us directly.
Yeah, certainly. They're entirely at your command. But you need to have like an idea of what you want to do, what you want to look into is the thing.
Personally, I don't know about anyone else, but I was hoping to gain any potential samples they may have of the Apothecary, as well as like some better preserved victims, as well as any information on the planet, as in like the places they've been to and potentially contaminated sort of deal. And then find a suitable place to land and begin our investigation on the ground.
Places they've been to, all major population centres, all population centres on Teguantis. They landed first in the major ones and then like moved outwards from there, flushing their way through everything down to isolated cottages. In terms of corpses on both sides, they're not in super good condition, but they can be delivered to you. The local climate has not been kind to anyone. The aliens do not seem to have buried their dead and certainly didn't bury the humans.
That's cool. But yeah, so considering they've had I'm going to say relatively thorough investigation, at least of the population centres, would it be arguable to say that the planet is devoid of sentient life?
Interesting question. So, you have been combing through the medical reports, and one thing that you do get back is there are still things living on Teguantis. Not many things. Plants are still going. A number of smaller animals and bird-like creatures still going. But anything that was moving in any level of concentration, the larger herbivores, that type of thing, marrow drained. And all sapient life, marrow drained. Teguantis still has, though with some damage, several major forests, especially on the southern continent. And these seem to have been not drained as thoroughly as the human areas, but subject to pretty fierce depredations. One area in particular that suffered seems to be almost burnt down, and at the center is a colossal impact crater.
Are there any records from planet of point of entry and thus spread? Because, I'm wondering if that's their landing site.
You have only the patchy records that have been pieced together from positionings after the fact, as well as what recordings survive and have been recorded in the local tech match shrines. But that particular impact is not actually near anything else. Other than the forest, which has itself been drained, it's not near any major human population center, and it's not near any sort of listed facility or other thing on the world.
But it was in the dense bit of forest.
It was in a very dense part of the forest. In terms of actual... God, what was the thing you asked there, Carl? Landing sites. They landed first in the major population centers and then moved out to centers of resistance, especially military fortresses and installations. Population centers seem to have been attacked first because they were more difficult to defend, and more than a few of the heavily armed places reduced their garrisons in order to try and defend the population centres.
Because, my potential theory was that they could have landed in that zone as an easy target to kind of, say, freshen up, if you will. Get some feeding done, bolster their strength and then move onwards, but it seems like they're already prepared.
The nearest population centre of any size to that one is over 3,000 kilometres away.
Which is why it would have been a good site if it wasn't a case of them already being, strong and prepared.
I see what you mean, yeah.
Seems more like they might have just bombed the forest for some reason.
The forest is still burning. Well, it goes on for thousands of kilometres in most directions, so... Sorry?
Oh, damn.
So it's still blazing away where the fires have spread outwards and outwards and outwards from this half-glassed impact crater.
Has there been any sightings of younger versions of the Xenos and so forth, or anything like that? Thinking of growing more soldiers, basically, that sort of stuff.
No sightings. There's nothing alive bigger than two clenched regular human fists on Tiguantis as near as anyone can see, at least outside of the oceans, where hypothetically some of the deeper marine life might still survive.
So even the Xenos, didn't you?
Sorry? Yeah, well, I was saying, so including Xenos or humans, there's really just nothing left.
Basically the stuff that's either too small to be not worth the effort in hunting down to feed off, or too...
I meant the attacking Xenos, mushroom Xenos.
Yeah, Nick meant, are there any kid ones, or are they
and
all
there's no kids.
Yeah. I wonder... well, I guess I'm not there, so I can't speculate.
Were there any other similar impact craters to the one they left in the forest?
No, they did some light orbital bombardment of some of the harder military installations to soften them up first, but nothing to that scale.
Are there any recordings of the actual impact?
Nope.
Okay.
There actually were satellites on the record, at least according to the planetary records. But none of them seem extant anymore. There's some rubble and wreckage drifting in the uppermost levels of the atmosphere, which indicates they seem to have been destroyed. Some of those would have been pick-feed satellites, even if they likely wouldn't have been mostly targeted at random empty jungle. But everything's gone. I would say you all have got 4 minutes, and I'm going to switch over to one of the other two.
Is it possible to scan for fungal matter?
You're going to turn up a shit ton of fungal matter, and they do not necessarily reproduce via spores.
Okay, cool.
Like, so, as with all alien classifications, like fungal, mammalian, saurian, all of these things are arbitrary, designed to give you like an emotional idea of what something constitutes.
Okay.
For all you know, these things might give birth to eggs or live young there, or like reproduce
Is there any
entirely
evidence
psychically.
Any sort of unique residue or anything they've left behind?
Nothing that's particularly been noticed by the not that qualified larger survey teams. They're not really experts in this. They've just been dispatched by the subsector head honchos at Ferdinandia.
Is there anything I can glean from my Forbidden Law? I think it's Xenos, I think I have.
I don't think Forbidden Law Xenos covers this, because it's really stupid general in this setting. Or system.
Okay.
Cool. Sounds like you'll have some stuff to ponder. I'm echoing on you, Nicholas.
Oh, sorry.
So in that case, let's switch over. Maki or Coayah, which of you all wants to go first?
I don't mind. Ollie, do you want to go first, or...?
Nope, I'll go first. Right. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So, what is, have I arrived at Albadeur now?
Yes, you may consider yourself to have arrived at Albadeur. You aren't making any noise, Ollie.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Cool. So, do I have any psychics on the ship I came with? Anyone who's openly psychic?
No.
Okay.
You have, like, your astropath.
Okay.
So I believe you got a good portion of the fleet, Coayah got a good portion of the fleet, Zarbo Glen Harris got a picket fleet to go to Ferdinandia with and, like, take command of the defense, and then a small but sizable detachment was sent off to Polder to dig in.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you don't have enough astropaths split up between you that more than the player characters will have got them, so you'll have like you've got one, Coayah's got one, and then Team Rainbow Ocelot has one, and then the other two will be using runner ships. Well, Ferdinandia is in the subsector capital, so they've actually probably got an astropath.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But
Can the
Coayah will
research
use
team
the
have the Firebird? Can we shotgun that? It's our vehicle for going down planet.
I don't know if the destroyer would have the appropriate flight banks for it. I think it has to launch from a cruiser with actual hangars. So it's basically stuck on the Obsidian Heart.
Alright.
Okay, I'm going to arrange the fleet in a way that tries to give... Well, first of all, I suppose I'm arriving and I'm announcing myself. And I would like to request a meeting with the planet governor.
Yes, Albadeur does not have a single planetary governor. The role is unofficially split between a triumvirate of the local major mercantile guilds. They negotiated a favourable entry into the Imperium, and so are the pre-existing power structure. Compliance here was relatively bloodless.
Interesting. So yeah, I'd like to arrange an audience with the three of them. And do they know we're on our way? Would it have been sent ahead of us via the astropath?
You can consider yourselves to have messaged ahead if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'm going to consider myself to have messaged ahead. But again, just to like the leaders of the planet.
Oh, it won't actually have arrived that quickly because it will have been sent. Because it won't have gone to Albadeur. It will have gone to Ferdinandia, who will have then sent a runner. So like, you're arriving like a week or two after your message, basically.
That's fine. I mean, as long as
not even that actually, because you're along a stable warp route. So you arrive hours after your message arrives.
Okay, well, as long as they have
weather being fair.
Yeah. I mean, as long as they have some forewarning that a giant fleet of military ships is arriving in their system, you know, it's all good. It's all great. It's all great. Yeah, so I am going to immediately position the ships in such a way that they try to cover a good, they try to get like a rough coverage of the planet from all directions. There's no one sort of cut off from comms range by a giant planet in the way, but perhaps a larger proportion of ships are focused around the stable warp route, or the entrance of that into the system, or whichever direction in the system that's present, I suppose.
So I believe it's a stable warp route, so it should have at least one major entrance to the system. Cool. So this seems like a good roll, I think, Ollie.
Yep.
Wallity, Dingle Badolity. Where's the bloody name? Coatlmox. No, that's not it.
No,
It's these fucking titles. Cool.
Cool. What do you want me to roll? I would say Scholastic Law Primer Imperialis.
Yeah, it's the other one at the moment still, isn't it? It's
Principia Bellicosa.
Principia Bellicosa, thank you, Benji. Yeah, so I think this is probably going to be quite a difficult one. I will take Principia Bellicosa, Primer Imperialis, same thing, at minus 25.
Minus 25, cool. I'm going to have a quick look through my talents, see if I have anything here that can help. No, all I've been doing is buying exotics weapon training. Is there any chance my enhanced heightened senses could help in this in any way, shape or form?
Not really. Not in void-based warfare.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Just
much as it tickles my red dwarf senses to have you be able to smell things through space, it's going to be a no.
Apparently space does smell a bit like burnt steak. Well, like steak, but it's more of a reaction with the metal. Anyway, okay, that rolls off intelligence. Cool, 10 or under.
3 degrees of failure. Yeah, your fleet is not the world's worst.
Oh, wait. Why would I be rolling this? Like, can I not just specify that that's what I want and then have...
Yeah, but it's how well you're able to...
Like, I would have I feel like it'd be as easy as sorting it by just saying what I said, taking that literally, and then having the admirals figure that shit out. Or the fleet commanders or whatever.
You are the supreme fleet commander.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not just the one who's going to decide. Like, I feel like there are tacticians that aren't there. These are ships full of thousands and thousands of people, right?
You can call them to roll 40 or under, I believe, for relevant rolls.
I would argue that as a relevant roll. Would you mind if I rolled that?
I mean, even if that had been under them, it would have been over.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's on you to remember that before you roll, Ollie.
Okay, fine.
Is what I would say. But you can do it in future for relevance.
Wait, okay. 3 degrees of failure.
That's fair. So yeah, you are having slight trouble getting your ships positioned whilst also calming the nerves of the local mercantile triumvirate, who are still not entirely convinced that the Imperium isn't going to, like, bloodily remove them in the same way that happened to Ferdinandia. So that's an issue. But then, on top of that, this system has several... I want to say is it Lagrange points?
Yeah, Lagrange points.
Yeah, this system has several Lagrange points from the stable warp route piercing it on both sides, meaning that between trying to divide your fleet up so they can respond to those and also cover the planet from most conceivable angles... Not that you think that these aliens are going to warp in too close to the planet, but one of the few things you have identified is that they seem to be absurdly good at warp travel. So it's a lot of uncertainties and maybes, and ultimately your fleet ends up spread quite thin. If the aliens strike anywhere near any of them, you're going to take heavy losses initially, even if you're then probably able to respond quite well, and even if you've left nowhere has a gap, but everywhere's stretched quite thin. Like butter scraped over too much void. Anything else do?
No, I'm just going to arrange a meeting with I want to get them up onto my ship, or ideally, or I guess we'll do space zoom if we have to.
It's up to you. You're in command of this situation. You are a Space Marine captain. You are the highest ranking person in this system. You can basically order anyone to do anything.
Cool. I want the mercantile heads up onto my ship then.
They're quite nervous, but if they don't come, you'll just blow them to hell from orbit. They're pretty convinced of that. So in the interests of preserving their family lines, all three agree to meet you and are separately shuttled up in their beautifully embroidered? They're beautifully embroidered woven shuttles from the local nanoweave fabric. Don't you laugh at their precious archaeotech. You never heard of nano-weave yarn?
To be fair, I have Scholastic Law, Age of Technology, so I'm pretty down with that.
Is purely miraculous looking at it. You've never seen a woven starship before, but these Albadurian shuttles are something else.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to take the time to explain to them. We think that your system may be within the next wave of attacks that I'm sure you heard about happening to your previous and to your compatriot planets in the sector. And then I will urge then that evacuation procedures are correctly followed. They are prepared to mass transit move their people either off planet or underground to avoid.
Hideously terrified at this. One pipes up with, "We've only heard rumours. We didn't realise that they were actually true. Ferdinandia has suppressed this information." And another with, "We can't move billions of people off planet. We don't have the craft. We could begin moving them tomorrow and they wouldn't be out of here before 10, 20 years are up."
Okay. Like, whenever I'm gripping, I grip it slightly tighter. That's annoying to hear. I turn to them. I shall be having words with Ferdinandia once we arrive back. I ask them how quickly they can set up either potential defences or bunkers for their population, and how many troops they can have at the ready.
They glance between themselves. Bunkers for billions. It would bankrupt us, and I don't think we could get them set up. Without months of preparation, not for any meaningful fraction of the population. As for militia, we send our PDF to Ferdinandia for equipping and training and entry into the Imperial Army. We've paid our tithes already. Is the Imperium not supposed to protect us? That was part of the deal.
I wave my hand around at presumably the fair few number of ships you can see glittering off in the distance through the bridge, because I brought them up to the bridge. I want them to be a little bit, shock and awed.
The ships are thoroughly out of visual range, but thinking forwardly, your technological team have prepared hololithic representations.
It's going to be the next thing I say, but if that doesn't... Cool, okay, that's perfectly fine. I show them, the dotted map of their globe covered by the array of ships, and it's like, we are here to protect. And you are protected. But anything you can do yourselves, we are not... we have yet to fully encounter this foe, and therefore aren't sure of their prowess when it comes to either void or to surface warfare, though we believe them to be fearsome. Any extra protection you can afford yourselves, even at this late juncture, would be most welcome. We can also arrange for some of your more precious items and people to be moved onto our ships if you would prefer, though I cannot guarantee their safety, as these are all warships here.
One of the triumvirate members makes a curious sign with their hands. Another one speaks up. "So we are to see to our own defence on the world, then, if they break through the picket line."
How many troops do I have with me?
That's a good question. I believe Captain Coayah was in charge of divvying up the troop count. Coayah.
1/3 of our current complements and the investigatory teams, call it about 300 Marines.
So 300 Marines. I have the Titan complement as well, don't I?
I mean, if you want it.
I mean,
I don't think we brought it. I think we left that in...
Sograntus?
On the Cantus.
I think... Wait, no, it has to go with the mass conveyor,
Imagine
right?
sending the away team with the Titans. Sorry, carry on.
They had to move the mass conveyor, if I remember rightly, and I can't remember the mass conveyor. I think it did, didn't it? Yeah, you're right. It did. Okay,
where have you left your Titans?
In on the Cantus.
The Cantus, yeah.
We don't know where... They're only going to be useful for pitched battle, so we might as well only bring them out when we know we can bring the enemy to pitched battle.
That's fair.
I just like the idea of, honey, I lost the Titans.
See, I went to, dude, where's my Warhound? But I like that we both went 90s films. Cool.
I tell them the number of troops we have, 300 odd Space Marines, and the presumably many tens of thousands of troops.
Hundreds
Yeah,
of thousands of Imperial Army troops, not to mention ratings and several dozen StarCraft.
So I'm going to turn to the mercantile group, mercantile leaders, and be like, no. We have troops and ratings and such, and we will be landing them shortly, presuming you can. I don't know if we have the facilities. Can we drop bases down, or do we have to rely on the locals to provide military infrastructure?
I would presume that I would have provided you with at least some of the Solent Salutaires, famed in our fleet for being very good at sieges and thus quite good at building prefab fortresses.
Okay, I would.
The Solent Salutaires, unfortunately, are probably somewhat victims of Halakan at this point. They will get refreshed.
Galifas.
Well, no, Galifas was years ago. They rebuilt after Galifas, and then they went through the meat grinder that was Halakan and were dropped into the fiercest engagements. Who do you think volunteered to be part of the boarding mission to the craft world? They never got anywhere near that boarding mission, but they were on the ships that blew up.
Oh no.
It wasn't me this time.
Yeah, but we don't need them to build it. We need them as advisors, planners.
You do have enough left for that.
Yeah, that's what we need.
So, I tell them that we are sending down, and I show them the numbers, and we will immediately begin reinforcing and working with your local hives to prepare for a ground defense.
One of the triumvirate looks troubled. This looks almost more like 1% of a regiment to me. Group of regiments. Damn it.
Motherfucker, has he never heard of quality?
No one can fault their bravery, only their survival statistics.
Well, it's not just those guys. I'm also sending down...
Yeah, I get what you mean.
And then we'll be coordinating up here, of course.
Entirely fair. In terms of bases to drop down, so bit of a not a tricksy one, but an interesting one. Generally, you wouldn't launch with that level of facility. However, you are an Imperial expeditionary fleet. Rebuilding is part of what you are supposed to do, generally. You're not supposed to spend lots and lots of time on it. But you would have at least cursory facilities for, rapidly throwing up constructions. You probably have, I think it's likely with either Coayah or Zabo Glen Harris's sections of the fleet, but you probably do have a chief architect with the expeditionary fleet somewhere. Bizarrely enough. This is not a thing Space Marines will ever have again after the Great Crusade, but at this point in history, yes, this is weirdly a thing.
Cool. Okay. I guess just begin arranging, having all the ratings, all the troops, planners set down, preparing their best defensive line.
So you're going to put Albadur on a war footing, basically.
Yeah.
Sector's being put on a war footing.
Oh, is that okay? Cool. That's openly the case. The Triumvirate protest weekly. They feel that this is going to cause untold disruptions, and that they're not happy with the state of panic they feel this will induce. But there's also not much they can do to gainsay you as you're able to function. You requisition their star system.
Yeah.
We wouldn't need to be here if the situation was salvageable by them.
Just say that one more time, Ewan. Just say that phrase one more time.
You requisition their star system.
Oh yeah, that's some good shit.
It feels good, right?
The song I've always wanted to hear as a min-master power gamer.
It's you've been waiting to play an Inquisitor so you can stay. I am requisitioning this star system. Do you want to give the line in character, Ollie? Would you like to give us your delivery?
I turn to them. I hear their weak protesting. I requisition this star system in the name of the Emperor and protecting the Imperium.
I'm infinitely sad you didn't do the Darth Vader.
Wait, I am
requisitioning this star system.
I do not alter it any further.
Freya's not requisitioned it any further.
And I'm requisitioning this airboat. Oh, commandeering this airboat. This is where my brain goes. What do you mean, requisition it any further? I suppose you could requisition it a lot further, actually. What the fuck am I talking about? Yeah. This isn't even my final requisition.
I do want to figure out a way to maybe, I don't know if it matters necessarily, but try and do it with, I'm going to say minimal disruption and panic, but try and lessen it to a degree, I suppose, of the local populace.
I think you're doing your best. I'm not going to ask you to roll for it, because I think that would be cruel, because you're going to fuck it up if I do. That's not me being mean. That is going to be so difficult. You're putting like 8 billion, not 8 billion. Sorry, what am I talking about? They're the fucking population breadbasket for the subsector. You're putting like 20 billion people on a sudden warning of you may all die, literally all of you, at some point in the next immediately.
Minus 60, yeah, fair enough.
So yeah, exactly. Like, it's going to go well, but you're also going to have like a lot of ancillary deaths and mass panics and shortages that come about as a result of this, because you're putting them on to your mind, these are necessary casualties, and the locals need to do everything they can to minimize this shit, but also you're trying to stop them all from dying.
Make it sound like they've never run drills for an apocalypse before. I mean, come on.
They have not, and they do not. They were slightly shocked when you opened up with, just engage your protocols for, like, evacuating the most populous world in the subsector. It's fine, we'll get this sorted. You might have to leave system for a bit, but you can come back after we're done. Because, to be fair, from Macuiltotec's point of view, used to the grand operations of the Great Crusade, where it's just like, we'll just move the nebula a little bit to the left, like just nudge it out of the way, and then we'll build the warp route through that, and that planet's going to have to go, but otherwise it'll be fine. Like, this is the shit he's used to.
He's glad he's wearing a helmet
for a bypass.
Exactly.
He's very glad he's wearing a helmet, because my god, when they said they didn't have any bunkers, this sort of planet doesn't have bunkers.
Exactly.
Just saying.
I mean remember, if you remember your faulty Lyman's ear, you don't spend a huge amount of time on planets. They make you dizzy for long periods if you have to spend more than a couple of weeks there. You're a dedicated void ship person, and a settlement that doesn't mount like Starship grade weaponry, and has like massive bunkers studded through it. It's not really a settlement, is it? It's more of a foxhole.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, with that, Macuiltotec has committed to the defense of Albadur and dug the fuck in. Meanwhilst, over at Ghoul, local agri-world, Coayah, what are we doing?
Same thing. I will have arrived above planet, looking to identify major population centers, governance of planets, if they have any PDF forces. I kind of doubt it.
The bad news is...
and do a sweep of the system.
The bad news is you do not identify major population centers. The good news is you do identify the population center. The planet's eponymous single settlement, Ghoul. Ghoul is overall a relatively low population world at, I think, just under 1 million people. Its harsh salt storms are absolutely perfect for particular types of plant growth, but utterly inimical to human life outside of extremely heavily suited up environmental protections, which are also ridiculously expensive. And so, instead, the Magi that run the colony operate colossal servitor armies, numbering in the tens of millions, and in particularly bountiful years and centuries, often up to the hundreds of millions, that run the agriculture of the entire planet remotely from the capital. In terms of defenses, they also have a dedicated servitor wing. God damn it, Ollie, I see your fucking text chat memes. They do also have a dedicated servitor wing of some hundreds of thousands of servitors, both built into emplacements around the capital, and to act as defenders within the city itself.
What? But I was going to land and fortify! They've already done it, the cheating fuck!
They actually have. Ghoul is, at least according to the hasty briefing you're lazily thumbing through on your data slate, Ghoul is like, or has been for many centuries, a popular local piracy hangout. The servitors... piracy target. The servitors make it simultaneously easy and difficult to attack. It's a lot easier to take food from poorly guarded warehouses, but attempts to sack Ghoul itself through the centuries and indeed millennia have led to it, like, slowly fortifying and becoming the hardest agri-world of them all. Like, they have several anti-voidcraft batteries that you can see tracking your ship as it enters high orbit.
These guys do not fuck around. They are the definition of fuck around and find out.
I like these guys.
Simultaneously happy that I've arrived on the heavily fortified world, but equally, my inner Imperial fist is sad that I don't get to shout fortify whilst I whip them
Macuiltotec
into shape.
is like, now that's a city. That is a city.
the giant bubble shield of death and its legion of zombie slaves.
Yeah, because it has anti-void.
Great, yippee.
Agriculture doesn't have to be boring. You are greeted by the ruling Magos of Polder. Styles himself a simple Magos of the collective. You may call him the chief necrotician.
I mean, is he boxing up or is he coming up on a shuttle? I'm still in high orbit doing scans.
You are indeed still in high orbit. They contact you, or he contacts you directly via Vox, with fairly little hailing.
Greetings, honoured Majors.
Greetings. Wait, no, what voice should we do? Oh, it's an admech. Oh, it's mechanical.
It's an admech. Do the voice.
Greetings, noble outlander.
Honoured Majors, we are from the 2nd Legion. We have come here on a rescue mission for this sector, as it has fallen under attack from an unknown Xenos threat, only noted as the Akareth. Currently, this subsector and the wider sector itself has been placed on a war footing. We are here to see to the defence of all possible worlds and to ensure that we can find these things and destroy them as soon as possible. Sorry, does that mean he wants to say something, or is he just humming?
No, it's like... you know what? I think that's both an in-character and an out-of-character confusion.
Yeah, it made me think of that episode of Rick and Morty where they go to the spa and there's that guy that really needs to clear his throat.
Yeah,
I don't remember that one.
I can see from our preliminary scans of the planet that your defensive position is indeed formidable, and presumably does not need reinforcement for us. Do you have any scans of the local star system, and any points of interest that we could use to further your defences?
No points of interest here other than ghoul. I will transmit scans of the local system, but the lesser planets are uninteresting and sadly, surprisingly mineral poor.
Thank you, Honoured Majors. I will leave you to your duties. Okay, so Ghoul seems like it needs the least amount of reinforcement.
Come join me on Albadeur. We shall have.
Where are the orbital batteries upon this world?
It does not have batteries in orbit. It has 3 anti...
No, but the orbital batteries means anti-orbital.
Okay, sorry, I just wanted to clarify. I wasn't sure if you meant, like, orbital or orbital. But fair. So they are positioned in a ring around the capital itself. The capital is, if you sort of imagine like a low-sloping dome, but with a series of smaller domes around the edges, and then wider suburbs populated only by the servitors that ring it.
Where upon the world can they hit?
Your initial estimation looking at them is that they should be able to hit anything approximately that like day-night side of the planet, depending on where the capital is at the time. So they should have range against anything directly.
I can take up a position above. My fleet can take up a position above the world in such a way that positioning ourselves for an attack, we would be able to lure the enemy towards us to engage us, bringing them within range of the orbital batteries.
Probably quite well, yeah.
Yeah, in which case we will do that while I begin drilling the men, armsmen, ratings, space marines, on boarding actions, and issuing pertinent weaponry.
Now, you will also have to roll for this because we made Ollie roll for it, but you also have like a much easier situation of have fleet lure into very easy to lure into trap zone, as opposed to Ollie's defend 12 places simultaneously. So, same roll for you.
Defend 6 places by the sounds of it.
Principia Bellicosa. Yeah, I would take a command. Okay, command in that case at a +10.
Okay,
Intelligence or fellowship, whichever's higher.
Fellowship, so that will be... Come on, +10 stats. 85 or under, please.
So you want me to roll it?
Please.
38.
That
Four
would be
dots.
4 degrees of success.
Yeah, boy. Okay.
Drill those armsmen.
Yeah, you have a much easier time of it. You know which ships you picked, and it's ships that you have carefully placed as much as you can under the command of members of Tactical Company. They're generally more willing to listen to orders, less murder-happy, more keen on positioning. You know, all that good shit. And they also deeply appreciate being positioned with their beloved commander, as opposed to with any of the assorted other nutjobs who could be in charge of them. Not that they would ever voice such disrespectful thoughts, but holy fuck. Never get assigned punishment detail with the murder.
I am no nut job.
Never get assigned recovery duty for the murder.
Never get assigned recovery duty for the murder. There's punishment duty, and there's go get the murder. It's getting dark out and dinner's on duty. Papa Coayah gotta marshal the legion. Oh dear. Yes, you can consider your fleet to have been fairly easily positioned for a pretty... It's not the stealthiest trap in the world, but it's one of those ones where if you want to do anything, it's difficult to not engage. The alternative would be to land outside of the gun's range, which means landing in the storm's range, which means either transporting or getting lashed to annihilated pieces by colossal salt hail. Chewed into the muck.
That's fun.
Depends on what you feel is a good time, I suppose.
Don't threaten me with a good time, he says.
In terms of stocks of weaponry that I can break out to help the armsmen with this, do I have the obsidian heart, or has that been sent with?
Up to you.
To
You're the one who had the allocation.
Does anyone particularly want the obsidian heart, other than Cread, who will immediately say he wants the obsidian heart?
I was about to as well.
Team Rainbow
I'm not sending the
Ocelot.
flagship.
Team Rainbow Ocelot got a warp runner, so it will be one of the other 4 teams.
In which case, I will have the obsidian heart because I can. I
And furthermore, fuck you, Ollie.
I presume we've got. Actually, no. Yeah, I'll let Ollie have it. Thinking about it, Ollie can have the obsidian.
I don't want your pity capital. You take your pity capital ship.
I'll have your pissy capital ship.
Ollie's on his preferred secondary ship, the Flint Kneecap.
I was going to say, I thought I actually already had it, but I guess I couldn't remember what we actually set up.
I don't think you specifically set up who got the obsidian heart.
Okay. I'm sure.
In the name of not doing a million years of allocation, generally haven't been naming things like minor characters unless they'd like to come up, or other ships unless they're narratively important. So.
Okay, in which case, can I have broken out the obsidian heart stock of, say, more extensive weaponry, Volkites, bolters to give to people such as...
You can't easily give your ratings Astartes grade weaponry. In addition to not being trained to operate Volkites and bolters, by and large, they're way too big for a human. It's like a -20. It might even be more. You do ratings. Naval ships. Sorry, the Imperial Navy doesn't exist at the moment. Imperialis Armada ships do have usually security lockers that will contain things like extra shotguns and such. So you can 100% shift the ships to a war footing and bring over spare supplies from the Imperial Army aboard the various ships, as well as deploy army regiments to the individual ships to put them on much more war footing. You put your currently limited stock of Soliant Salutaires decimated, reverse decimated.
It's fine. If I can't break out any of the good stuff, I'll break out the good stuff for the Space Marines I've got.
Yeah. Allocate them some of your Volkites. It's getting a little bit tricksy to maintain the Volkites at this point as supply lines get more and more stretched, so you're still using them, but you're moving over to bolters a little bit in dribs and drabs, but this is a pure Volkite engagement as far as you're concerned. Anything else you want sorted? As you put Ghoul on also a war footing with a grand total of 0 in the way of collateral damage. I'm so sorry, Ollie.
Wait, I haven't had... Oh, I see, yeah.
Yeah, you had collateral damage.
Yeah. No, I think that's fine. I think we're good and dug in. I will sit and I'll await messages from the other fleet. I presume we'll have sent an astropath with the fleet to Polder.
No, you sent one with you have one with each of the player characters basically. Polder's using a runner ship.
Kind of feels like Polder's going to be attacked in that case.
Yeah, you arranged it so if I recall correctly, Polder has a runner ship. So Polder has a ship whose sole job it is the second they sight anything. You said, and they're supposed to bug out and run off to you. So Albedur, Ghoul, and Teguantes all have your astropaths at them. Ferdinandia is presumably using the subsect astropath as Zabo Glen Harris thrusts his iterator rosette at people.
Well, in any case, I think I'm done. So shall we go back to Investigator's team or Ollie?
Okay. Meanwhile, Team Rainbow Ocelot has been poring over the data for some days at this point. What are we doing, Rainbow Ocelot?
Time to get boots on the ground?
Yeah.
Where do you want to go?
How much mobility will we have once we're landed? Have we got a landing craft and something that can travel around the planet quickly, or...?
Yeah, you've got a basic Arvis shuttle.
Alright.
So it's you can get anywhere on planet in a matter of hours, basically.
Cool. I don't mind the order, but I'd like to see the major centres, some of the major population centres where they initially attacked, as well as the big old crater in the woods.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by that crater.
We can do a rapid-fire tour. What do you want to see at the major population centres? Other than the decimation, the corpses, only the most major of which, the largest concentrations and the sort of major buildings that are being reused have had their corpses cleared, some into piles, some into mass graves. In most areas, the cities simply smell with the smell and stink, in fact, the sickly, sweet smell of rot. Flies beginning to buzz in their thousands, millions, and then billions over some of the older corpse sites.
Can I do an inspection to look for any unique residues? Anything that might resemble spores, or any unique bloods or liquids that might have come from fallen Xenos?
I'll take scrutiny over perception, please.
Sure.
And from the librarian as well, I will take senescience over perception, please.
My perception's not good enough.
Sorry, what was your DOS there, Creed?
1.
1 degree of success.
1 failure, sir.
Oh, 1 failure.
Yeah.
It's difficult for you to find anything beneath the sheer number of flies. There are, so many, hundreds of millions of dead people have produced an insane industrial quantity of flies. And they're eating everything, swelling out of all proportion. This colossal, in any other circumstance, it would be an apocalyptic amount of flies, but this world's apocalypse has come and gone. Nazeem, what was your DOF?
You muted, Nick.
It was pretty bad. That's 38, 70, that's 5.
5 degrees of failure on the senescience. You feel just kind of... The weird clarity has gone down here. The strange distance you felt from everything. Down here you feel, despite the flies and the disgusting aura, just kind of homely. Yeah, it's corpse-strewn planets, but you're used to corpse-strewn planets. You've even made a planet a corpse. This... You'd probably never describe it as where you belong, but it's certainly not somewhere you feel out of place. And it is somewhere you feel oddly content. What do Team Rainbow Ocelot as you march through city after city, corpse after corpse?
As we're going, can I... I presume that we've got varied weaponry. I would like to test the efficacy of each weapon. I appreciate the bodies have somewhat decomposed of the Akarath, but there should still be a relative difference between their effectiveness.
Yes. So, what weaponry are you testing? I assume bolters, volkites, anything else?
Do we have any melter? Oh, yeah.
You've got a destroyer with you, so you can have a melter. Anything else?
Right. We got plasma.
Plasma, same situation. Yep.
Cool. And why not? Like, let's go with a solid projectile of some kind, just as like a baseline.
Standard autogun, sure.
Did you say flamer?
Yeah, I have a flamer combi bolter, so it'll be fine.
Okay. So, in order then, Volkite weaponry is almost as effective, indeed perhaps slightly more so, as it is on, or than it is on raw flesh. It flenses them, atomizing them. Bolters. You find these have varied effects. Some specimens, with no common pattern, some larger, some smaller, seem oddly resistant to them, whereas others explode at the first shell. Melter weaponry. Anti-tank, bunker-busting weaponry annihilates them, flash frying their corpses, turning them into sublimated gas in an instant. Plasma. More or less the same story. Which leaves Flamer. They seem almost flame retardant. The Flamer does barely anything.
Oh, that's curious.
Damn it. I love purging Xenos with fire.
Just friggin' chin with like thumb and finger, like, thinky pose, sort of. Like, curious, yes.
Most perturbatory. Will do.
Can we take a small specimen and put it in a bonfire and just see what happens to it over a small period of time?
It lasts for well over an hour before it starts to show signs of actually charring.
Have we got a record of when certain when they invaded? Was it the big crater first and then the smaller ones, or is it all simultaneous?
You do not have a record of that, and your ways of testing are not precise enough to tell you, other than that they would have all happened sometime within the same month-ish.
Okay. Can I try to glean off of, like, there's one big impact, obviously, at the forest, and then there's these smaller ones, using my Scholastic Law War, some sort of tactic that they might have used?
The only thing you can think of is if they were trying to throw up, like, a large amount of biological matter into the sky in order to cause, like, an artificial nuclear winter of some kind, or like, just generally block out the sun. But one, that's more something you do in a siege, and two, if you were going to do that, then you wouldn't, like, the center of that crater is glassed, right? It is obliterated. You wouldn't be looking to glass things and burn the rest. You'd be looking to, like, shatter things and throw up larger clods. You'd, instead of, like, one extremely high impact hit or multiple hits at the same site, you'd more, like, walk your guns over an area, like a desert or something. If you're doing it to the earth, you might walk macro cannon shells over the Sahara in order to, like, throw up as much sand as possible and create a colossal dust storm.
I think there was something they were afraid of there.
There are no records of anything being there, are there?
It was very dense forest.
You haven't asked if there are any records of anything being there.
Oh?
You said earlier that there was
They said there was no population.
Or secret,
Or secret facilities.
Yeah.
Oh, quickly as well, I'll poke a corpse with a power weapon, see how effective they are. My axe.
Oh yeah, it disintegrates quite well. A confused medical orderly approaches you as he sees the corpse burning in the bonfire in front of you. You've been there for an hour. My noble and munificent lords, permission to speak?
I look around the others, I'm not giving him permission.
No, I'm not giving him permission.
Do you want me to give him permission? Or am I, like...
I don't do you want to give him permission?
I thought I was the one who hated humans.
I grant permission.
You nod, and he takes that as good enough. Asbestos. They have a significant asbestos component in their biology. I don't know the exact details, but it's why they don't burn.
Curious. Gratitude for the information.
He bows low and scuttles away. Sorry, Nicholas?
The specimens we've been testing stuff on, it's just like, I'm assuming like lumps of flesh sort of thing. Is that it?
They
or
look
is it like
like nothing
small...
so much as a sort of texturously, if you imagine a loaf of bread that's been put on its short, so it stood up on its side, so it's pointing up lengthways, and then split open. You have inside the sort of texture of doughy matter. But it's a mushroom-esque fiber.
Okay. Can I perform? I've got a psychic power called reading. Just like to do a reading on it.
Page number.
Page number is 194. If I get anything out of it, I have no idea if I will.
194. Let's take a look at the young Nicholas Powell as he reads the bread mushroom.
Read the mushroom.
It does say target person.
I think that they count as a person.
Yeah, I think it's valid. Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say it was called? Reading.
Reading, yes.
You need a power to be able to read. Wow, man, like that's special.
Reading is reading is magical.
This is the power of arithmetic.
Okay, so it would work on one of these aliens, but it also looks like it needs a live person, and this is not currently a live alien.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Because you 3 strongest emotions that the target is currently experiencing. It's dead. Deeper insight into all of its feelings. It's dead. How many insanity points it has? It's dead. How many corruption points it has? It's dead. It is in fact dead.
Are you sure it's dead?
That's a good question. They could be playing you for a really deep fake and just letting you dissect them.
That's dedication.
Can I ask,
I get to know if it knows any psychic powers is what I was kind of going for. That's the reason I was doing it. I wasn't caring about anything else.
That would be senescience. Sorry?
No, it's part of the power.
No, Cread was saying that.
Oh, I see.
You can't detect if it has psychic powers if it's dead, because it no longer has psychic powers. You're looking for a soul, basically, and its soul has departed.
Can I... I've done, general senescence. Can I do senescence specifically on this thing?
You got a lot of doff on the last one, mate.
I did. That's what I'm asking. Was that one
you're kind of almost overwhelmed, I would say. But, all right, you can do it again, but I'm going to whack on a minus 15.
Fucking hell. Okay.
What are you going to ask, Cread?
Have the medtechs found any evidence of sensory how
organs?
They may see or speak or hear?
No, actually, no organs of any kind. Their biology is basically a complete mystery. You only know what their limbs look like because you've found dead ones and seen videos of them feeding. Pig feeds, rather. Even with the paths that the marrow flows through once it enters their body, it doesn't seem to pool anywhere. It just circuits around, and the circuiting is not the same inside most specific instances of Akareth. So it's quite a random direction or set of directions that it's moving in within the spongy fungal matter. As for your senescience there, Nazeem, you're just feeling content, honestly. You know, it's a lot of it was a lot of pressure when you were the captain. You know that was years ago now, but even you haven't really had a chance to be away from Coayah, what with Halakan and the campaigns in between the two. This is your first big chance to be away from him in a while, and it's nice to just feel accepted and good at your job and away from pressures and reminders of previous failures and just to let things be.
On that note, so I'm got all my psychic powers. They must be useful for something, right? I'm curious if I can use augury on this stuff.
Page?
193. So circle one above it, basically. That's PDF 193. It's 192 in the book.
By reading the Empress Tarot for a specific individual, the psychic can grant insight into what troubles lay ahead. During the reading, both the psycho and the subject must remain in contact and no actions may be taken by either of them. It cannot take any actions. It is dead.
Exactly, so it's fine.
Also, we don't have the Empress Tarot at this point.
No, we agreed this. He doesn't deliberately do the Emperor's Tarot. He has, like, a focusing thing that he does unconsciously, which counts as the Emperor's Tarot.
Can you get the history of objects or anything?
He
No,
might
I
have
was
a
hoping
power
like
for that. It's not what augury does.
Yeah.
You can't tell it's augury. You can't tell it's fortunes. It is dead.
Are there any commonalities between the dead ones? Any particular locations hit or significant
Not
amounts of
massively.
sustained damage?
Most of them seem to have taken pretty heavy damage. You can't find any that have just taken like light wounds, what might be the equivalent to a headshot where it's hit some super vital organ and that's killed it. They seem to have all been like torn open or suffocated. There's a few of them that have been mustard gassed. It's generally
Suffocated.
yes. So suffocated. There's a few that attacked military installations, and those installations were quite heavily defended. In some instances, they've become trapped in rubble and then suffocated. So hypothetically, they might have been crushed. I suppose it's difficult to tell. Severe trauma of one kind or another. Anything else you want to do on the planet, folks? You've visited... Ooh, sorry, Carl.
Well, I mean, again, because I appreciate that tissue is dead. Like, one of the things that I was curious about trying was creating, like, a biological or chemical weapon to try and specialize in taking it down. But, like I say, with dead tissue, it's not necessarily going to be as easy. Would it still be possible to do some research on things like acids and, like, that sort of stuff to see how well it breaks down their tissue?
You can probably get something sorted, but it'll take you a while. You're talking like at least a few weeks, maybe more like months.
I wonder if like a fungicide would actually work.
Presumably, but
Like that's among the stuff that...
As ever, remember...
I know.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, that might just be, even if it's just a waxed and poetic way of doing it.
Developing a chemical that targets them specifically is entirely valid. Off-the-shelf fungicide is not likely to work any better than any other random toxic chemical.
But other than that, can I prepare a report to send out to the rest of the command squad based on our findings so far?
Yeah, you've got your astropath with you.
Cool.
And I'd like to visit that crater site as well.
Okay, anyone going with you?
If you want, I can come with you, but I'll be focused on like preparing my report for the journey and stuff like that.
It's really more if you can just drag Nazeem away from the cities where he seems to feel so oddly at home amidst the teeming flies.
I'm more than happy to go to the crater.
Let's go see the spook crater.
Spook crater!
It's an odd place. A sparse desert is almost the best way to describe it, as it has been rendered into uneven, slagged glass, which is then covered with soot blown in from the burning, and in many places burnt forest, by fierce winds stirred up by the initial devastation. The effect of orbital bombardment, harsh, potentially looking at it as you tap it with a single power-armored boot, Terminator armored boot even, potentially even sustained orbital bombardment, has long-term effects for weeks, months, even years afterwards, even on something as comparatively minor as meteorological phenomena. This, as you look at the reasonably circular, several kilometre wide impact site of the crater, this is weird. You've seen a few orbital bombardments, rarely from this close. You don't usually linger that long afterwards. You don't generally slag things, not to this level, and certainly not forest. What do?
I'm guessing it'd be pretty impossible to find anything that isn't just slagged glass around here, right? If we dug around.
Locals haven't actually tried. They've done like a cursory visual of the locals. Sorry, the investigation team, the survey teams, haven't actually done more than like a cursory glance around the area. They roll intelligence, please, for me. If you've got logic, you can roll that over intelligence instead.
What, a tech boy without logic?
Might have logic. I've just had basic logic. But that is a pass, 1 degree.
Okay. One thing that you can see very clearly that they haven't done is looking at the complete-ish slagged glass crater. They haven't dug underneath it. What do?
Diggy diggy hole, a diggy diggy hole.
That's the worst rendition of that song.
Or more promptly,
Yeah,
call a survey team. I'd like to get a survey team down here to get digging, with Jeb assisting them with my servo harness.
Where are the Iron Warriors when you need them?
So I did a little bit of reading at that whilst you were talking earlier. It actually looks like I don't think Terminator servo harnesses exist, and the Iron Warriors ones are like custom jobbies that they source. So it's sortable, but it's not standard gear.
Well, I'm the head tech priest, and tech priests are in charge of Terminator armor in the chapter, according to the rules, so...
Yes, but modifying it is still a tricksy science. However, getting a like servo harness caddy slave is a very he's a serf.
Get an Abayan. You're a Magos. Get an Abayan.
It's this new things.
I need to think that isn't Cool at this point. Is he already under Mars, making the next generation of Space Marines, or is that not for another couple of 100 years?
He won't be.
Paul is
born.
currently on. No, he's alive. He's on.
I don't think he's not.
Random Forge World, currently working under Ezekiel Sedan.
He's only like 60 to 80, right, at the start of the heresy.
No, he's fairly old. He's a couple hundred.
I think.
Like he is alive at this point, but
okay,
he is
fair.
nobody.
Yeah. If
at
he's,
this point, he is nobody.
I think he's younger than that, but if he's a couple of hundred, then yes, Benji is entirely correct. He is alive, and he is also a nobody. He's not even really cool at this point. He goes through like 3 piracy, illegal black market mind meld torrents that make him into cool. But he's like the base person that will one day become cool. I should hate him as a character, but I just can't.
He's so deliciously stupid.
He is, and his model is great, and I really like that he's peak admech.
Abeyance are like, the weird little platform that all the Forge World tech priests come with? That's the Abeyance. It's that little scorpion
so it is
body
just an
thing.
Abeyance. Okay.
Yeah. But you can put one on that.
Yeah. But I feel like removing Seb's bodily autonomy and also calling him Jeb, despite having known him for quite a while, is part of the weird fun that those three have in abusing their chapter serf.
You could give Seb an Abeyant. You could give him like a scorpion body.
I'll figure it out. I might get him smaller servitors to carry things for him as well, so we can work like a chain, but we'll figure that out in the future.
Like possums.
So
yeah, just a series of smaller serfs for serfs.
I mean, so serf is, remember, they're legion serfs, which actually does give some level of like weird legal standing. It's almost equivalent to being like an imperial city. You're directly subordinated to someone, but you're directly subordinated to someone who's actually quite high in status.
Fine.
You know how like Alfred is still a butler to Bruce Wayne? He's a butler, but it's whose butler he is. But then, not all serfs are equal, and your legion does not... You don't, spit on the serfs, but you do occasionally abuse them for no real reason.
Perform unsanctioned body mods on them without their permission.
I hate to say it, but it's not actually unsanctioned, because you're allowed to sanction them.
Yeah.
Carl's doing stuff, but I'm not sure it's going to get sanctioned.
Carl's not done,
Anyway, digging holes.
Yes. You have some heavy-duty machinery brought in by the survey teams that they were using to clear wreckage in some of the forts and such, still desperately hoping for survivors, and redirect it to forcing their way through the slagged crater. It's slow going. Digging through the crater's fine, but they encounter nothing but charred roots and mud for quite some time before they stumble upon the very first thing. A large, flat, shattered rock. A deep obsidian black in tone.
Fucking
It's
pylons.
quite transparently carved, or something similar to it at least. And it's been more or less completely annihilated. What do?
First off, steal a shard of it for my collection of souvenirs.
Fair. You're able to recover a shard pretty easily. There's a lot strewn in the dirt. They seem to have been broken with the initial few bombardments and then, showered with dirt thereafter, and then slagged there after that. So there's a lot of fragments drifting around.
Can we figure out what it's made out of?
Yeah, I'll ask the survey teams if they have any records of this thing.
Flat fellowship, please.
Nope. The 4 failures.
They have no official records, and everyone's a little bit too terrified to offer more than that. In terms of what it's made out of, you're able to perform some basic analysis, or have basic analysis performed, rather, and it turns up fairly anomalous properties. It's extremely hard, and it seems to be somewhat psychoactive. It also makes you feel queasy. Nazeem.
Forbidden Law Psychers? I wish I had warp at this point, but warp doesn't exist, so it's...
Forbidden
Is there
Law
anything I can roll for?
Forbidden Law Psychers doesn't cover this, I'm afraid. Forbidden Law Warp would.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Tell me a sweet Synesian or something?
Perception. Yeah. Can I have Synesiance off of willpower or intelligence?
You can roll Senescience with a hidden difficulty modifier.
Over perception or over
Over whatever you like.
willpower, please?
You detect absolutely nothing.
That's okay. So it's ridiculously high. Was it the mod?
You detect absolutely nothing.
Oh, absolutely nothing.
The metagame rising. Must resist.
Wait, is this? Do I know about nulls yet?
The null gene has not been widely publicized as yet.
No, it is currently forbidden knowledge.
I do have forbidden xenos.
It's also not that.
psychers, so that'd be forbidden nulls, I guess.
Do you have Forbidden Law Psychers?
Separate. I have forbidden law psychers.
Okay, you are an Astartes. I'm willing to say that you probably are aware that nulls exist. There is such a thing as a hole in the warp.
Null rods, then.
Not,
Roll.
I mean, null rods. No, well, I suppose you could...
Null rods are the exclusive use of the talons of the Emperor in the heresy. You do not know about them. You are not allowed to know about them.
I think, however, you can potentially extrapolate that there's such a thing as a war. And also, you have a much more rationalist approach to this stuff. So, to your mind, it might make sense to, yeah, maybe this is doing something similar to what a Gellerfield does, but, naturally. Or it's null humans. But again, instead of being biological, this is physical. So you can intuit the phenomena you're looking at, even if you can't explain why that phenomena is expressing.
I want to gather enough of this to teeth a chainsword.
It's not really good material for that.
Oh, I thought it was quite strong, right?
It is quite strong, but that makes it extremely difficult to chip and form. You'd really just get an extremely fragile chainsword. Do you all have anything else you want to do on Teguantis? Otherwise, we're going to go over to someone else.
I will inform the others that through all my reading and my study, I believe this resembles something that could influence the psyche of certain psychers. And therefore, possibly, the alien, I've forgot the filthy Xenos, I'm not going to remember their name.
The Acareth.
The Acareth. May not like it and may require or depend on some sort of psychic connection, hence why they targeted it.
Can I put out a theory? This is not metagame, but it's so I'm not there. I reckon they're like ants, and they have to use psychic abilities to communicate with each other.
Yeah, I agree.
Up in a ship.
One last question for the survey crew, if they'll even entertain you. Are there things like this on the other planets that have been attacked?
They have no idea.
Are there strange areas that have been bombed or glassed? Areas that have been attacked by the creatures for seemingly no reason, away from population centres?
They're not actually sure. This information is currently controlled and being somewhat repressed by Ferdinandia.
It is now uncontrolled.
Yeah, as in they don't know. They have not been told because the information is being controlled by Ferdinandia, so the survey teams themselves are operating independently of each other.
I'll add up a report to our guys in their systems that the Xenos may target odd anomalous structures that the locals don't like to talk about as a priority.
I'm going to suggest we take a large quantity of this material back with us as well.
Sure.
Okay.
As much as I don't like it.
Down for it.
Like this stinky material.
You can probably have most of the largest chunk you found hauled up with some effort. You've been here, we'll say it took you, the initial couple of surveys and visits was maybe a week and a half, and then the trip down to the crater, that lasted a couple of days, before you went back up to the ship before before Kuzco went back up to the ship to start writing his report, whilst the other two of you stayed down there to supervise the digging. That lasted maybe week and a half, and then you returned to the ship whilst the rest of the digging went on, eventually had, to deal with your samples, write your further reports, and then have just had your little meeting, and it'll take another couple of days to get, the largest stone chunk levered up and onto the ship. And then
and also a good portion of shrapnel as well of it, if possible.
Yeah, you can get assorted chips and things. And otherwise, you have a priority astropath message sent off to shotgun style to. Actually, if I recall correctly, astropathic messages come in 2-ish variants. It's broadcast and specific, so you can either broadcast or you can send it to a location and then another location and another location, with the latter being more strenuous for your astropath. What would you prefer?
Just straight comes wherever Benji is, I'd say.
Yeah, you know that Coayah was was deploying himself to Ghoul. So you can have the information winged straight to Coayah.
Oh, and I'll add on when I say that they might target anomalous structures, so they do so from orbit and blast them, so not necessarily to put troops there if you find.
That is fair. Okay. Otherwise, I believe you all wanted to leave system. Where are you going?
That is a good question.
I wouldn't mind checking out another one of the ravaged planets if we serve time.
It's up to you. You don't know when and where they might strike, so how much time do you think you'll have?
How much time was that roughly you've taken?
Closing in on a month.
Should we swing past Hesperiid and then go to Chime?
Sure.
Why are you stopping at Hesperiid?
Just make sure it's not being attacked.
Oh, I see.
It's not
Fair.
your job.
Just, if we want to go to somewhere, just swing past.
We can go say hello, see if they have generic sector data.
You can indeed.
Your job is now. Well, no, because I suppose I wouldn't have said that. I can't say that because I'm not. Would I be able to contact them back?
You do. You can contact them back. You have an astropath. They have an astropath. It will, however, take a while to get to them.
I have received their message. My instructions will be this: investigate Volant, Bountiful, and Chime. Identify if these strange obelisks are anywhere on these worlds.
Okay, assuming that they're acting reasonably, then they should get that message in like under a week. Hopefully, just a couple of days.
That's kind of what I want to do anyway.
Is that not going months and months of void travel?
It's not months and months of void travel. Void travel is a lot easier at this point in time. Like, basically, the warp is super calm through a lot of the Great Crusade. Slaaneish's birth... Sorry, my contacts are going blurry. Slaaneish's birth blows away a shit ton of the void phenomena plaguing the galaxy, and that have been plaguing the galaxy for years at that point, which renders the entire place, like, ridiculously easy to get around. And then in addition to that, these are on stable warp routes. And then also this area is noted for its fairly calm warp activity anyway, despite the two semi-permanent warp storms on either side. Sorry?
It's mainly just because I remember you saying the Xenos disappeared for 3 months at a time before appearing at another planet. And that made me just think that they were in the warp for 3 months before they hit another planet. Though I suppose they absolutely could have just, gone that somewhere else, then attacked again a couple of weeks later, or months later, and just traveled for a week or so, I suppose.
There are also like minor planets they could be at, or they could be off doing like refueling and resupplying, or they might be like plotting, or they might be completely done with their attacks and now they've sorted everything and they've sodded off and you're way too late. Like, there's any number of things they could be doing. They could even just be like having a bad spate of warp travel, and maybe they are just stuck in the warp, and for them it's been a couple of days, but for you it's been another 6 months to a year, which has given you time to react. Maybe. So, away team. Just speedily before we skip over to Coayah again, because you haven't actually got that message back from Coayah yet, though he will be sending it as soon as he gets his message. What is your destination? Where were you wanting to go? I heard Hesperid, but I also heard other things.
Hesperid is my suggestion. I'm not overly bothered, but...
You just go straight to Volant first. Check if it also has an anomalous crater or obelisk, what have you.
Sounds like deciding vote then is Kuzco. Carl?
I was hoping I could abstain.
I'm happy going to Volant if you really want to, yeah. I don't mind.
Okay.
I mean, if we check the ones that they've already smashed, then that way we can somewhat confirm that that's what they're going after, so we can try and look for one of those worlds, or one of those on another world.
Okay. So to round out your plotline for the evening then, folks, you set course for Volant shortly after having sent off your astropathic communique and basically keen on investigating some of the additional dead worlds. You attempt to set course for Volant. However, you can't seem to actually translate successfully into the warp. The engines just aren't having it. You're unable to leave the system, finding yourselves utterly, paralyzingly becalmed.
It's just going to be to do with all those strange rocks we've lugged on board.
Might be possible. I hadn't thought about that.
Meanwhile,
shall we
over
vent most of them?
over at Ghoul.
Shall we keep some of the shrapnel, but then get rid of the big bit?
We'll try and be as greedy as possible, yeah, obviously.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, over at Ghoul. Coayah, this has been a lovely, relaxing holiday from your underlings. The only people you have to deal with are sane, rational actors, who like to engage in such hobbies as tactics and regular arms drilling, which is convenient, because you've recently scheduled a large amount of regular arms drilling.
When are you scheduling the tactics?
Tactics are scheduled for after the enemy arrives. It's clear that you do not follow the team calendar that Coayah very carefully set up on ye olde future Google Drive.
Like, come on, we've got alerts set up for it.
There are alerts. Are you even on Slackus 42.0?
opening up Google Meets and our devices.
This company runs on Agile, damn it. Anywho. Coayah.
Good pun there, mate.
That's not a pun.
You said this company runs an Agile company.
You have to move. I'll kill you, Ollie. I will strangle you dead. So... Sorry, I've just read your Nicholas's comment in the Discord. What if we just throw the null-rock out the back of the ship in a very, very, very long line? I want you to picture a ship going at full motor with an anchor set in concrete back at the harbour. Draw your own conclusions.
I mean, it won't translate into the warp. I see.
So, Coayah, you've been having a nice, lovely holiday away from everyone you're supposed to command, or at least away from the nutters within your command. You even still have the command ship. The only person on here who's even vaguely objectionable to you right now, other than Michelko, is, do you have Michelko, or did you sign him over to Mackie?
No, I'll take Michelko.
So you've got Michelko, but you don't have to talk to him much, and when you do, it's usually assigning him slightly shit duties. And other than that, you've got Manabi Verith, who you do have to suck up to, but you at least get on with him. When the astropathic communique arrives, it's relatively clear, even having been vomited through the warp. I believe it was a report on, the basic outline of what's been happening at Tiguantes, what they've got, and specifically comments on the nature of potentially anomalous structures being targeted by the Xenos. This is the first mention you've heard of anything other than raw population. What do? Other than send off your counter-communique, instructing them to go to Chime, Bountiful, and Volump.
So sending a counter-communique to them. Now I'm going to send a communique to Ollie, instructing him to hit the planet he's on for anything like this. Search records, anything.
Yep. And then if I find it, I'm bringing my Brabton guns to bear.
He's likely to have more issues with that than you.
Don't why are you destroying it?
No, I'm not going to. I'm going to ask it to be reinforced if I find any.
Why aren't you destroying the evil, potentially pre-human artifacts?
My first
because we haven't got time.
I think it's actually a key objective, even.
My point is more. I will tell him to search for one and see if it is on his world. I will also send a runner ship to Polder to inform them that this is what they're looking for. If they've got one of these, expect an attack.
You don't have a strong idea what they're looking for other than the big black column at the base.
Strange big black column at the base that looks like a weird obsidian thing that was there before the pre-settlers.
And as a company, we know our obsidian.
Right. In any case, I will vox down to the Magos on world on Ghoul to see if he has any information on anything like that on his planet.
The chief necrotician.
Yes.
Curious. I will consult the archives. How soon do you require information?
As soon as we can be furnished with it, Honored Magos.
I will be with you presently.
Vox transmission cuts out.
In this case, I'm going to also get an astropathic message sent across to Zardoglin Harris at Ferdinandia, asking for updates on the situation, asking for any information from the sector governors about this, and informing him that, well, I presume that he's already been given instructions to put the sector on high alert.
I believe take military command. I don't think he's been told to put it on high alert yet. But you have, to be fair, been here for drilling for a month. If that's something you want to have had sent out to him, then that's fine. Yeah, we can wreck on that. That's valid.
Yeah, high alert.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to have had him put it on high alert when you hadn't actually asked for that. You just gone to specific systems and put them on high alert. But like I say, it's been a month, so it's perfectly if Coayah wanted the subsector put on high alert manually, he could have had that done.
Indeed, and basically, the sector's on high alert. all armies to be, if at any point it is detected that these spire things exist upon a world, reinforce that world.
I think you're assuming a lot from in terms of shape from a single column base. That could just have been that could have been a surviving base or central column to like a huge temple network.
If there is any evidence of strange black rock that does
strange black pre-human rock, yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, I heard something slightly different there.
God,
yes, of course you did, Carl, but that is because you were eternally thirsty.
Your naked thirst knows no bounds.
You know, to be honest, I
do thirst for the nakeds.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see clothed thirst, Carl. I want to see naked thirst, Carl.
I presume I will have also received the tactical data on their attacks on the corpses.
Yes, that will have been in the initial report.
Would that have only been sent to me, or would it also been sent to Maggie?
That has only been sent to you.
Okay, that will be disseminated to all people along with the other messages I've sent, and with the runner ship. Drop the flamers and the Volkites, swap the bolters and the heavy stuff.
Volkites worked well.
Oh, did they? I didn't know they had them.
Yeah, Volkites were like one of the best bar, like high-end sort of plasma, melter.
Break out the melter weaponry. Is it resistant to anti-tank fire? No.
Melters are actually better than anti-tank. Melters are anti-bunker. They work quite well against tanks as well, but they're designed for piercing just meter after meter of rockreed.
It turns out, design something for that is great at designing going through meters and meters of flesh as well.
Okay.
True. Cool. You do get a report back from Zarbo Glen Harris. So he's been sending you intermittent minor ones, and the issue he's running into basically is he's having to play politics pretty heavily in Ferdinandia. There are a lot of local noble houses, and the system put up heavy resistance to imperial compliance initially. They surrendered with honor after like a 2-month-long war, but several of the local noble houses were bloodily purged, and imperial resettlement has not been without its issues. So even though it is the subsector capital, it's somewhat recalcitrant, and he's having trouble getting everyone on side. Everyone kind of agrees that they'd like to see the subsector defended. No one wants to be on the same team as anyone else in terms of defending the subsector, so there's a lot of like political sniping that he's running into. The Astartes who are with him assure him that they've got a reasonable defense of Ferdinandia, but the diktats going out from Ferdinandia itself are limited at best. That said, almost all of the relevant worlds in the subsector, there's others elsewhere, but not that many, or at least not that many of any importance, are already under direct Astartes control in one shape or another. The major exceptions to that being Barast, which is a night world, Hesperid, which isn't really that major, it's just on a stable warp route, and Naxos, which is already a fortress world.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Barast or Naxos. These things have apparently struggle with carapace armor. I do not see them doing well against knight suits.
That's when they bring out a really big mushroom.
To be clear, they struggle with carapace armor in terms of they can't eat through it. They do quite well against carapace armor in terms of, like, murdering it with weaponry.
Yeah, but they can murder it with weaponry, normally, as you said, by ripping it off.
No, the opposite of that. They don't murder it with weapons. They murder it with guns. They stop to eat in battle in the same way that you stop to eat in battle, which is to say, unless you're young Nicholas, you don't.
I like that distinction.
The people they were eating were captives. They were not stopping to feed mid-combat. Mid-combat, they were using actually extremely effective combined arms, and making excellent use of their salvage technology.
I do think that if anyone was to survive during battle...
I'm not worried about Noxus or Barast, just because of, obviously, aforementioned reasons. We'll hold the positions here for now, reassess when we have more information. If I have to, I will go to Ferdinandia myself.
There is a distinct undercurrent in Zabo Glen Harris's reports, which is like equal parts exasperated, I would almost like someone to take this off my hands, and non-exasperated, please do not come here and knock heads around, it will cause issues. Not to say that he has any ability to command you.
I won't do it unless I have to.
You get that feeling that he's worried about long-term stability. Okay. And that feels like a good place to leave it for the week. Oh. Actually, one additional small thing. You send a runner ship off to Polder with your instructions. A day later, Polder's runner arrives. The message is broadcast out over long-range system box almost immediately. Polder is under attack.
I'll go in there immediately.
That feels like a good place to leave it. Reminders for next session.
Polder is under attack.
Valid. Anything else?
Learn about spook pylons. Or at least spook rock.
Fair. Anything else? In terms of people who've got fleet positionings, or who have places they want to go, or things they wanted to investigate, or strategies they wanted followed?
I want to work on chemical and biological weapons.
Fair. I will just casually reiterate for everyone, remember, if you don't set a reminder, and you forget it before next week, and I forget it before next week, it just won't happen. So it's better to note this shit down.
Could you put on the number of troops I have in my area, on my planet?
Fair. So,
But equally, I think we've got everything. Like, I'm heading to Polder.
You haven't noted down that you're heading to Polder.
I thought that was the first thing.
The first thing noted down is Polder is under attack. You haven't noted down that you wanted to head there.
Okay.
I can note that down if you like, but you have to tell me.
Yes!
Okay.
That was literally the final line of the session was, I'm going to Polder. How would that not be a
I do
reminder?
not make assumptions with the reminders.
I won't be going to Polder.
Like, if I filled in assumed sensible things that you should probably do, young Nicholas would avoid so many of his classic blunders.
Really, you just don't do it out of the love of good storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to
I
get
am
the
heading
first
to
time,
Polder.
so yes, noted down now.
I'm taking rough notes this campaign, so I have our research stuff jotted down.
Fair.
I would like to keep a note of how many troops I have at our border. The number 300 Space Marines, the salient, whatever their faces are, the remnants of that company or that group of people.
Right.
Yeah.
Reminder, I'm fairly happy that Ghoul security system is in play, so that should be fine.
Cool.
Did it only take 2 days for that warp run then, between Ghoul and Polder?
No, you had one runner ship positioned to go out to Polder and one runner ship positioned to come back from Polder.
Because conveniently, we of course only had the enough astropaths for 3 of us, not for the NPCs on Polder.
Yeah, because you're not supposed to split the expedition fleet 5 ways.
It's almost like we've got a large amount of territory to try and defend.
You're not really supposed to defend territory. You're an expeditionary fleet.
No, we're not supposed to defend territory in this expanse of human-controlled space that we're defending from an hostile alien menace.
Yeah, because you've got to be repurposed for these things. Just because you're not supposed to do it doesn't mean that you won't be told to do it. You're being assigned as a relevant local force.
It's true. What I should do is be a total imperial fist about it, set myself down on one random world and build a giant sky fortress and go, the aliens will never dare to come here, and then watch them kill the subsector around me. That's what I should do.
Just your tongue gently poking out of your mouth as the flames grow higher on every surrounding world. You could just boot out the planetary governor of Naxos, right? Dear. So I got as far as Ghoul has solid defenses. Were there any other reminders?
Did you note down my troop numbers?
Yes.
Cool. I'm not going to be going to Polder.
Fair.
I think that's me.
Cool. Right, as long as everyone's comfortable then, you all don't feel like you have any more directives for next session that you haven't noted down?
One more. A general reminder for how my ships are positioned, covering every area with a focus on more coverage over the warp route entrance / exit.
Fair.
Oh, the enemy is flame retardant.
Oh, damn, asbestos mushrooms.
Asbestos shrooms.
That was me thinking fire was going to be the best against these bad boys. It's always satisfying when you get to break out the flamer and you hit everything automatically rule.
Sometimes Occam's razor doesn't necessarily hold true.
Yeah.
You can plan for many things, but not asbestos shrooms. Okay,
Yes,
in that case, feedback. Anything you liked, anything you disliked, anything you'd like to see more of or less of next time.
I wouldn't mind getting a bit more boots in the ground action next time.
Yeah, well, you were positioned in a defensive
Totally,
thing.
yeah, totally. I mean, it's not a complaint, just,
Yeah, noted feedback.
Small point, less real obvious where the story's going next up. Like, the moment I heard there wasn't an astropath at Polder, it was like, well, that's getting attacked.
You knew there was an astropath at Polder. And also, to be fair, you were getting a bit salty about this last time, that like, wherever wherever we aren't will be where we're attacked.
Yeah, it's just, I don't feel like we've got a huge amount of agency to actually progress the plot. We're just sort of sitting and waiting for them to turn up.
You've got defences at Polder. And, like, planned for this scenario, even. So, I see where you're coming from. I don't know what I could have done to make it more... you'd already taken defensive positions. They had to attack somewhere. But I'll see if I can make it more proactive for you. I'll try and work something out. Any other feedback? Okay. Any questions? Anything anyone was narratively unsure of in that session? Is everyone following the plot?
So,
I think so, yeah.
following the plot as they can be. Not because of you, but because of me.
You do seem a bit tired this week.
I'm so tired. I've had about maybe 12 hours sleep in the last 70-odd hours. It's been fun, don't get me wrong, but I'm very tired.
No, I feel that. I conked out yesterday at like 8:30 and then intermittently tried to get up in order to go to bed properly, but didn't manage it until like 2:30 in the morning. And so simultaneously wasted my entire evening and didn't get any REM sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was in the, last night was like, no, I'm going to try and get all the good sleep in the world. But going to catch up. And then I had my throat start hurting at 2 in the morning, and I didn't get to sleep until 4.
Oof, not fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so I think that makes it time for some next point. Oh, Ollie. Pats on head. Plot progression. Does anyone feel like you made any significant plot progression this session?
Discovered the obelisks.
Not obelisks.
Columns.
Did some research on the Xenos.
Anything else?
Discovered holders being attacked.
I don't know if I'd count that as plot progress. That's kind of happened. Well, actually, to be
Oh,
fair,
that's
I
why
say
they're
that happened automatically, but also, like, you did set up a picket ship for it. So you had a system for this. Yeah, alright, I'll give partial for Polder.
Partial holder.
Because, like, if it had just happened and you hadn't set up anything, then that would have been you didn't plan at all. But you set up a warning net for this.
I feel like I got to know the residents of Albedur a little better, I progressed the plot in a direction there. Sure.
I don't know if I'd say that's plot progression.
We learnt that Ferdinandia are shitheels and will need to be dealt with.
God damn, suppressing of information. I've got Bagsy on bringing Ferdinandia to heel. I said it first, damn it, Benji.
Did you?
I did actually, yeah.
I believe you, I just don't remember.
No, the Mercantile Guild people were like, we've not really heard anything but rumours because of Ferdinandia suppressing it all. And I was like, I'm going to deal with Ferdinandia later then.
Fair. Okay, I'll give partial for that as well. Cool. Character development. Does anyone feel like you developed a character this session?
Don't feel like I've particularly developed Mackie any more than he already is.
Yeah,
No, I can't say.
No, I don't think I did much in character, really.
It's fair. Yeah, it was like a sort of Coayah Nazeem session on that regard, really, wasn't it? Fair.
I think is Ewan's hint asking Coayah and Nazeem if you felt like you progressed your characters this session.
It's fine. Excellence of roleplay. Does anyone feel like anyone else roleplayed particularly well this session?
Define. General good stuff.
Yeah, I think Benji did quite well with his interactions with the NPCs. In general, requisitioning information and so forth, and Ollie did very well requisitioning a star system.
I'm happy that Benji picked probably the one stress-free system he could have gone to organise the defence. Coayah deserves a holiday after Halakan and its clusterfuckery.
Fairly sure we picked them for different reasons.
You did pick them for different reasons. But you lucked out and you got the one that was the least shitty to deal with. Sorry, what were you going to say? I can't hear you at all, Benji.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, fair.
Oh, could I be cheeky and go back to character development slightly?
Sure, what you got?
Well, I mean, this is one of those things where a lot of the time, most of my experimentation is usually jokesy like, I'm a crazy medic man. But, like, I've actually kind of been funneling or channeling my energies towards genuinely constructive, like, endeavours.
That's a really good point. This was, like, less herder human experimentation and more like, oh, let's help the species.
This time there was only her.
Carl slips further towards Fabius Bile.
I'm not trying, it's just happening, okay?
It just means, really, Carl, that you've always just had a natural streak of Fabius Bile inside you, and this is how you're releasing that pressure.
This was the anti-Fabius Bile, though. Like, he was not hurting random humans for no reason. He was looking at, like, actively developing...
Fabius doesn't hurt anyone for no reason. He's got very good reasons to do it. He's just a horrifying psycho.
He says he's got good reasons to do it.
He directly does have
good reasons to him. That's how I would classify
I feel like maybe we just discovered a little bit more about Benji there.
Character development. Benji. Dear.
No, I like Carl's point, actually.
Yeah, I've added it.
Roleplay as well, actually, thinking about it. Like, the roleplay was real. You were all there just like, I'm gonna go just set everything on fire. And then all the other different types of weaponry. And that's done well. A vote out for that.
Fair. Anyone got any other roleplay points?
Wait, I'm going to say Carl. You know what I mean.
Yes. Oh, yeah, and there was the, like, Benji Coayah taking command of Ghoul thing as well, right?
Yeah. I'm just happy I got to requisition the star system.
Although, like, officially, I don't know if Coayah, technically speaking, said, I take command of Polder, who more or less, Ghoul, he more or less, like, turned up, went, it's running fine, and then positioned himself for a trap.
What's up? The whole place was a fucking mega fortress surrounded by fucking servitors covered in guns, and went, well, I'm not a bit superfluous here, aren't I? Don't need to train no PDF.
It was fucking hilarious if you had the options of, like, dysfunctional noble world, we're not prepped for this, civilized world, space Holland, and the zombie fortress. And you went to the... Like, obviously there was no context. I suppose you could have asked for, like, dossiers on these things, but it's also understandable to not remember that. And you went to fucking zombie fortress going, right, we're gonna whip them into shit. Oh, zombie army. Huh.
It's also like we picked Ollie to go to the place where his troops would be the most effective.
It was part of the reason that I went to Alberta at the largest population, and I went there because I had the most...
It's more that his Havoc squads would be less useful on planes where they could easily be flanked, as opposed to a civilized world where they could dig into positions and just create the ultimate kill zones everywhere.
I'm not gonna tell the nobles that their spires may end up being several hundred meters shorter by the end of this.
That's their problem.
Yeah, exactly. That's their problem and the architect's problem.
Okay. So...
Actually, at the end of the day, it was just my vibraty boys who were the ones who decided that Benji didn't go to the zombie army world.
Oh god damn you, contact! Why are you gonna not work?
There are a few ways. There's only a few ways to make a space marine feel slightly inadequate when they arrive somewhere, and Ghoul did it.
Oh, what? Pointing the guns?
It's just, look, we have guns, and we have guns on top of our smaller guns. You see, that's how you get more gun per gun meter.
My favourite bit of Ghoul. My favourite bit of Ghoul is the zombies' only defensive suburbs.
I liked how you said there were suburbs, and there's like, wait, so they have, I'm just imagining it's like houses, these little suburban picket fence houses.
They'd be like servitor housing warehouses, and then...
I just had the idea of them just being like, just little, like, you know, Americana, suburban 1950s houses, all of their own little shields.
The problem I have with making subsectors like this, sorry, this is a complete tangent, the problem I have with making subsectors like this is I inevitably want to run a Dark Heresy game in them.
Right?
Go like, look at all these little worlds. Let's have some dicking around on zombie agri world. It'll be the best. I don't know. Maybe at some point in the future we'll do like a distant 40k version of these planets. What's going on now? Type of a thing.
Hopefully there's planets left by then.
Or the pre-Inquisition Imperial Special Service. Everyone gets a Ghost Legion member. It'll be great.
Is that a real thing? There's a pre-Inquisition special service.
They're called the Alpha Legion.
Yeah, the Alpha Legion.
Not doing anything with them because it's just, it hurts your brain with all the, but then this!
No, but it's the Alpha Legion before their complete bullshit, where, like, because the Alpha Legion get into, like, weird Tzeentch logic, where they're simultaneously on all possible sides fighting for all conceivable agendas, and they're therefore fighting for nothing because they're fighting against themselves as much as they are anything else, which is a hilariously ironic fate, but also a bit like... Holy fuck, that's so pointless. But before it depends on what you believe about them, because a lot of the Alpha Legion is your headcanon is correct, whatever your headcanon happens to be. But one of the more common ideas is that they were acting as the Imperial Special Service throughout most of the Great Crusade, because things that are indicated to probably be them crop up quite a lot, where, like, the second company of the Ultramarines appeared in this theatre and did this stuff, which was weirdly out of character. And also, we know they were actually on the other side of the galaxy at this particular time. So what the hell?
I'm going to look up what a Ghost Legion is now.
The Ghost Legion is the Alpha Legion's name before they're officially reunited with their Primarch. But even that is a questionable statement.
Let's see.
Benji and I both like the Alfarius as a Terran-born stuff, even though it's almost certainly not true, but I really like it personally, and I think Benji quite likes it too. Anywho, I make that out to be 160 experience points for session number 17. That's 30 points of plot progress, discovering the Spook Rock, doing some Xenos research, and discovering that Polder is being attacked, partially, plus another partial for discovering that Ferdinandia are shit heels that must be brought to heal. 10 points character development, that's Kuzco channeling his energy towards constructive xenocide. And 20 points excellence of roleplay, that's Kuzco's science CRP and Coayah and Maki taking command of their respective star systems. Which brings us on to everyone's favourite part of the session. It's the highlights.
What was that total for XP? Sorry?
160. Benji, do you have any highlights for that session?
You feel nothing.
I don't remember that one.
It was when young Nicholas was trying to psychic the thing, and you kept saying, you feel nothing, and he went, but
No,
what if you feel nothing?
It wasn't you feel nothing.
Oh, it's... and he's dead, yeah.
No, this was when he was trying to psychic the stone, and he was...
Oh.
He was... Because he couldn't actually roll psychic powers on the thing, because it was a corpse, and you were explaining to him that, and it's dead, which is a good highlight. Someone else had that highlight. This was when he was doing it on the stone, and kept suggesting other things he could be feeling about the stone. It's just like, you feel nothing.
Yes, that was he came in with a 14, but it was with a hidden modifier. A 14 when he was allowed to roll Senescence, whatever he liked, and he got an absolute nothing. Cool, any other highlights?
Ah, fuck it, I'll take it. It's dead.
Dear. Sorry, just going down the list of all the applicables, and NA is dead, NA is dead, NA is dead. Any other highlights, Benji?
I'm trying to figure out how to phrase it. It was Creed's honest and earnest thing of, I wonder if a power weapon will destroy it. Surmises the thing when he hits it.
Power weapon is indeed powered. Best I've got. Any alternatives?
Anyone else got anything?
I just picture the future armor. Fire is hot. It's the worst professor impression I've ever done.
Like my Diggy Hole impression earlier.
Yeah, it's karma for criticizing you. Alright, I'm just putting power weapon. Power weapon is indeed powered. Cool. Anything else?
I think that's all for me.
Okie dokie. Young Oliver Thirsty Walliver. Do you have any highlights for that session?
Do I have any highlights? I'm requisitioning the star system. Makes the munchkin inside of me very happy.
He's a space marine captain of the Great Crusade. He can do that wherever and whenever he likes, and there's nothing we can do to stop him. We were so worried about young Nicholas fucking up that we didn't stop to think what happens when we give Ollie captaincy rights.
Captaincy rights. He's second in command of the entire company.
He is. He can requisition battleships.
Wait, I'm second in command of the entire company?
Yeah, you're the highest ranking. Everyone else is a special rank.
Yeah, I was going to say, technically, only you and Benji hold an official rank.
Also, as well, this shows you didn't read my dossier where I literally said, all the captains have this rank, but Ollie is the chief captain, therefore is the best of them.
Oh, nice.
Only
Okay,
I read the dossiers.
I also didn't look on Discord until 30 minutes before the first session last week.
Actually, let's be strictly fair. Young Nicholas also reads the dossiers, but in the same way that he reads the rulebook, where he picks out 30% of it in extreme detail, and the rest is a hazy dream that he has once seen through a fog of mysticism. Any other highlights, Ollie?
What if we just tow the null-rock out the back of the ship on a very, very long line?
God damn it. Any other highlights?
Sudden realization that the warp engines aren't working.
Oh dear.
No, I'm going to.
Fair. Creed, do you have any highlights for that session?
Reading the mushroom.
When did you read the mushroom?
Just from when Nick was trying to cast reading on the mushroom.
Oh, right. Psychic reading on dead mushroom. No, I'm not putting psychic reading on dead mushroom. I'll just put reading on mushroom. It's fair, because it wasn't a psychic reading. It was an attempted psychic reading, which makes it just a regular reading. Anything else?
The Lidl of Forge Worlds.
Oh.
If only we had battle automata. This would be so much easier.
What specific part of this would be easier if you had battle automata?
The part where they're really good against flesh and will eat the flesh, but if we fight them with battle automata, they won't be able to eat.
I don't know where you're getting this they eat the flesh thing from. They don't. Or they do. Well, one, they don't eat the flesh, they drink the marrow. And two, they explicitly weren't doing it in battle, at all. It's the exact...
I'm looking at this as like a Tyrannid situation. You don't give them the thing they want whilst you fight them.
I mean, I suppose that is fair. But I also feel like you're drawing the exact opposite conclusion of the thing that the report that was sent to you said. Any other highlights, Creed?
That was it for me.
Fair. I don't know why I correct you. It's unfair to young Nicholas. Really, I should just, leave you to plan your food-based strategies. You know what your problem is, don't you, Benji? You didn't read the dossier.
You didn't send me a dossier.
They sent you a report.
I don't see no written thing linked in Discord. Ain't no dossier been sent.
You heard him here, boys. If you don't send him an actual written dossier, your communiques don't count. Signed in damn triplicate. This is a professional legion. You'll act like it.
Damn it.
Any other highlights? Any highlights for that session? Carl.
You'll have to forgive me here if they've already been taken in some other wording.
Fair.
Choosing the zombie army world.
Anything else?
Surprised that this that a planet doesn't have an apocalypse evacuation plan. I want to make that smaller, but I don't know a better way of wording it.
I'm going to head off anyway.
Fair. Hi, Benji.
Right, good night.
Right.
Wasn't just a surprise as well, it was like mild to moderate disgust. Anything else?
Oh, damn it. There was something else, but I can't remember.
Fair. We'll skip over to young Nicholas then. Young Nicholas, do you have any highlights for that session?
That's not a city. That's a city.
When was that?
That was Ollie's, what sort of city doesn't have orbital guns?
I feel like the second one is better.
That's not a city. This is a city.
And,
It wasn't even orbital guns, it was what sort of city doesn't have bunkers.
That was it, yeah.
Sorry, what was the other one?
Permission to speak.
This, it continually fucks y'all when, basic humans come up to you with, would you like a juicy plot hook? And your reply every time is, do the help think we want them without us snapping our fingers? I don't think this is how we train the staff. No. Chortle. You've sent Seb to his death at least once as a result. Callously.
It's what our Legion does. When a lower tries to say, "Can I speak?" you ignore them for 5 minutes and then let them speak.
We are terrible people.
I mean, it's where some of the legions are. So a lot they tend to be more arrogant at this point. Anyway, even the Imperial Army is generally douchier than the Imperial Guard in many ways. They're portrayed as being more extremist, especially against abhumans. It's weird thinking of the Imperial Guard as more compassionate, you know? Especially given that the Guard has a commissariat, whereas the army doesn't. Sorry, I've completely forgot your highlight there, Nicholas. What was it?
Permission to speak.
Permission to speak, yes, there we go. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Fair. Carl, did you remember yours? And or does anyone have anything else?
Yeah, the one undefended world gets attacked.
It's defended. It has a picket force.
Well, you know what I mean, though,
yeah,
right?
The least defended world gets attacked.
But, yeah. Surprise, surprise. It's not like at every turn that, throughout the investigation, it has been shown that the enemy is, in fact, quite intelligent.
I don't know what you mean. Surely they're cracking open people like snacks on the battlefield as they're fighting.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you had to explain that so many times.
To be fair, I can see that if Nick was going to eat snacks on the battlefield during the middle of battle, he would be the only person to do that and survive.
I mean, yeah, but who doesn't want snackers?
I'm just seeing it now, Nick goes to bend down to pick up a candy bar, but it whizzes over his head. He straightens back up, but it whizzes between his legs now.
Yeah, he rarely gets himself killed. It's usually other people. Your Nicholas gets killed.
Yeah, it's when he bends down, the person behind him takes the shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, young Nicholas, I'm sorry. You sound genuinely upset by this.
No.
You've got yourself killed on at least one occasion. Remember parrying the horde? I
survived that.
I still tell people, yeah.
I wrote a song about
it. You burnt fate, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you died.
I was ready to throw the towel in. It's like, I'll just try. I was like, okay, I'll try. Because the zombies were falling over my blood.
Yeah.
There's so much blood.
Yeah.
So much blood.
That's right. I remember when we were dragging you towards the airship and there was blood everywhere and you tried to parry them.
I still tell people that story. People who have never met you and never will laugh their fucking asses off at the tale.
Hey, you can parry a horde, just not very
No, you can't.
well.
For fuck's sakes, you of all people should remember this fucking...
No, you can parry the first member of that horde. It's the rest of it.
100% telling Joe
the
this story
combination,
shortly
yeah.
after this, if she hasn't heard it already. Anyone else got any other final highlights?
You can parry a horde?
Yeah. This is where Nikki is now going to encounter a horde of mushroom people and be like, lesson should have been learned before, but there won't be charge!
There's a psychic power that lets you parry or something, I'll just take that and just I'll parry this horde!
Except they'll shoot you.
Cool. Does anyone have any final words for the recording?
Rainbow Ocelots!